Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello and welcome to the National League, people. Congratulations to Manchester City for winning the league while Arsenal were trending yesterday. For some reason, of course, Rodri calls that Arsenal's mentality. Also, for some reason, I don't know why. And people are in love with this Arsenal team. And I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. Of course, we're here with the guys, with Rory, of course, with Dan, with Nobbins, that champions four-peat history in the making, and with Tom Little, who can't show his camera, of course, as unprofessional as he is, of course. But listen, I just want to say something. The banter on Arsenal was crazy yesterday. And I said it before. I said that this was 50% of the banter that Arsenal fans were going to see. I said that on a show and people didn't believe me. I said before actually the final whistle, the banter was going to be crazy. And now the banter is absolutely like now 10 times worse. And I don't know why, to be honest. I know people like to banter. But listen, how is everybody feeling? Rory, you look absolutely miserable.
Yeah, I've been better.
You look miserable, like trying to do this.
Yeah, it's been it's been tough, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that was expected, though. It was expected.
It was expected, but
to drop points.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. Just watching.
City let you off lightly. City let you off lightly. They didn't go behind this time. Like they happened both times.
Yeah, that is true.
City were always winning. So it's like, oh, well, we can't do anything.
Foden was like, I'll just put them out of the misery. 2 minutes in, bam, there you go. Just eliminate any prospects.
Yeah. Although I was in the section of fans that some fucking absolute bellend decided to say it was Tuchel.
Did you believe him?
Well, no, because I always have really good signal at the Emirates for whatever reason, which is why I can like tweet through the game and stuff normally, and people don't understand it. So I'm refreshing Twitter. And I'm watching people celebrate around me, and I'm refreshing Twitter, and I'm like, "There's not been a goal. There's not even like there's just not been a goal." And I'm saying to the people next to me, I'm like, "They've not scored," and everyone's going mental. Yeah. So then I'm like, "Oh, maybe they're just not updating Twitter quickly enough." But it's just fucking.
I love that. So in the social media agents, people are still falling for that. It's brilliant. It's like back in the day.
It happened every single time.
The commentators fell for it. The commentators fell for it here.
Did they?
When they cheered. The commentators checked twice. He's like, it didn't happen. The West Ham didn't score. And then they checked again.
That's really
he fell
funny.
for it.
I don't know how. And I don't know who starts the rumors either. But
normally it's like away fans who do it to be cheeky. But
yeah.
Some Chelsea fan was there. Some Chelsea fan
that was the thing. We knew when City had actually scored because the Everton fans all started cheering, which was hilarious because they spent most of the afternoon chanting Premier League corrupt as fuck and then celebrated when the most corrupt team in the league scored, which is some level of irony. But yeah, that was, it was a fun day.
It was.
Nobbins talked history. Four-peat. Foden stepping up, clutch, leading the team, doing wonders.
And feasting.
Right? Deserving the best player in the league. Finally, he's doing something after 5 seasons at City that warrants him best player in the Premier League. Talk to me. How was the feeling in the stadium?
Yeah, it was brilliant. I thought I was going to be sick at times, but we scored after 2 minutes, which obviously settled the nerves. That was fantastic. And again, it's what Foden's been doing this season. I think that's now his 6th goal from outside the box this Premier League season, which is the most by any Man City player ever. Which is mad when you consider we've got Kevin De Bruyne, who is objectively like the best non-striker to score from outside the box in terms of like his numbers. So that's crazy. So immediately that calmed the rest of the stadium down. And yeah, that first off 20 minutes, it sort of reminded me of our first half against Real Madrid in the Champions League last year, where it was just an onslaught. And it was like, you could tell like the players were very aware of past mistakes, against Aston Villa, we went 2-0 down. Even against Brighton, we went 1-0 down a couple of years ago in a title decider. The players were obviously like, we're not going to let that happen this time. And that's sort of been the story basically post-Arsenal. We've spoken about this a lot. The players are sort of fed into the more almost like chaotic nature and emphasizing attack over defense. It's almost like, we know we might concede, so let's just try to overpower the opposition and try to outscore you because we're probably going to concede a couple of chances, maybe even a goal. And that's obviously what happened. And yeah, so yeah, and the stadium was bouncing as it of course it would be. And City and West Ham have a nice relationship with one another, which goes back quite a few decades. So it was just like a nice vibe all around, to be honest. I know Arsenal won, but obviously when Everton scored first, that was quite funny as well. So yeah, great day. Our two best and two most important players this season, both scoring in a title-deciding game. It's like, poetic in a way. And yeah, it was just a brilliant day. And as you say, history's been made. No one in English history has ever done 4 league titles in a row. So that's another like tick in respect of like the history situation for Man City and Pep City, of course. And fantastic that we did this in what I still maintain is an underperforming season for City's standards, in subpar throughout the season. And we've still won the title, which is great to see. Hopefully we can win the FA Cup as well and do the first ever double-double, which has never been done before in English football history either. So yeah, I was absolutely buzzing yesterday, to be honest. Lots of celebrations. I got recognised at the Etihad twice as well. So shout out to those two nice people coming up and saying hi. So yeah, it was a lovely day.
I have some questions to ask, and everybody can answer this. Did Arsenal play the best football this season? And did Arsenal deserve to win the league or no?
No.
Right.
No.
And what about the Arsenal mentality that Rodri spoke about? Did he lack mentality this? Because I thought that was an absolute stupid comment by him, to be honest.
He clearly just reads football Twitter. Rodri gets his opinions from fucking De Bruyne season and Erling Roll on Twitter. He absolutely exposed himself with that comment as someone that genuinely... This is the equivalent of when Rio Ferdinand talks as a pundit. People assume that because he's good at football, he's qualified to talk about it. And clearly he's not, because he's made a fool of himself with that comment.
Because for him to call out Arsenal, they went to the Etihad and got a point.
Why are you shocked that Rodri comes out with? Why are you shocked that Rodri comes out with this stuff? This the same fella who sat there after they got knocked out to Real Madrid and cried about the fact that they didn't win because they had more shots and more possession, but they couldn't score.
I'm going to tell you why.
Rodri does.
Yeah, but that's what Rory's saying. And forget what Rodri said. This is the notion that is going around. The regular fan, by the way, is saying that Arsenal lacked mentality. All the shows yesterday, I did shows yesterday, right? A lot of people are saying Arsenal lacked mentality. Arsenal should have won. And by the way, DR Sports, Cam and the guys, what they said is that Arsenal should have went to the Etihad and won the game instead of relying on others. They lack the winning mentality. Arsenal should have been better again. By the way,
Arsenal should have picked up more. Arsenal should have picked up more than 1 point against Fulham. Arsenal should have picked up more than 0 points against Villa. Arsenal should have picked up more than 3 points against West Ham across the season. That is where they've cost themselves, not going away to the Etihad and getting a good draw. And it's the same with us. I don't look back at draws against Arsenal or draws against City as the games that cost us the title. I go to fucking draws against Brighton and draws against Luton and draws against United. They're the ones that cost you. Not tight games where they can go either way. The games where you should be dealing with the opposition, brushing them to the side, getting done, moved on with it. Because that's the difference between what City have always done. City have always, by knuckle or by crook, got over the line against them small teams. When it comes down to us and Arsenal this season, we have not. And those are the games that let us down at the end, not the Etihad away. And to say it's a mentality thing, it's so stupid. Last year was more of a mentality thing than this one. How can you win 16 out of 18? It's a mentality problem. It was poor mistakes at the start of the season that have let Arsenal down, like it was poor mistakes at the start of the season that let Liverpool down. Neither of our sides capitalised when City had their wobble, and that's where we fucked up, not by drawing at the Etihad.
Arsenal dropped fewer points in 2024 than City did. City dropped 6 points in 2024. Arsenal dropped 5 points. So how you can start pinning it on mentality is beyond me. And the thing is, this is where, because the outcome of the season is that City won it, you can then actually go back and change what happened. If Arsenal had beaten Villa, then drawing at the Etihad was an incredibly good result because we'd have won the league. And we'd turn around and go, well, City should have really gone for it when we went to the Etihad, but they didn't. And City didn't beat Arsenal all season, and that cost them the league. But because City then win the league, they go back to it and go, oh, Arsenal should have just turned up at the Etihad and won. Which, by the way, I always find incredibly weird when City fans say, "Oh, they should have come to the Etihad and gone for it and won," as if Arsenal are so good that if we had just decided that we wanted to win, we would have won the game because we're just so much better than City. When in reality, we could have gone for it and lost the game. We also, yes, we defended in that game. We had chances to win it. If Trossard squares it to Martinelli towards the end of the game, we win. If Jesus makes a better run in the box, we win. So it's just such a bizarre thing to say. But the reason, and Mo, you said, you know, loads of fans are saying that Arsenal lack mentality, and then you reference DR Sports or whatever.
No, a lot of shows. I'm not.
No, but shows. This is what I'm saying.
Bro, and a lot of people that have been speaking, which is
No.
a lot. By the way, media people said that.
Yeah, but what if you go and speak to the average fan on the street? They don't say that because you're referencing shows, media, people on Twitter.
Fan is on Twitter.
But these aren't average fans. These are social media engagement farmers. Because if you say Arsenal had a really good season, they dropped a few too many points earlier in the season, and they never quite recovered from it, and City won. That's not a clip. That's not a viral tweet. That's not a clip. That's just so that's why. If you go, I promise you, if you go and just speak to normal fans on the street, the majority would just say, you know, Arsenal had a great season but weren't good enough at the end and dropped too many points earlier in the season against teams that they shouldn't have done. But that's not clippable.
Dan, what do you think about that? Like, did Arsenal deserve anything? Because you know, guys, that I said that yesterday. That's not a dig at Manchester City. Then before you go on, but I said 9 times out of 10, you would bank on Son scoring a 1-on-1. 9 times out of 10, any one of us here would want Young Min Son to go 1-on-1 against any goalkeeper in the world 9 times out of 10. So it was a small margin. So when I sit here and say Arsenal played toe-to-toe with City, but the fine margins win City's way in terms of like a decision here and there, a ball hit the bar, like the goal that Newcastle scored, for example, they called way softer things, right, against other people, which is example is Akanji on Alisson. They called that a free kick, but they didn't call the Joao Linton push on Gabriel. Things like this, small margins went Man City's way, ended up in Man City winning the league title. So I say Arsenal were equal to Man City. People say no, Man City have been better this season. But the facts are no. Man City only won, if I'm not mistaken, against Spurs and against Chelsea, if I'm not mistaken, in the top 6. Man United. But they haven't. Yeah. They won against Villa and they lost. They didn't win against Arsenal. They didn't win against Liverpool, if I'm not mistaken. While Arsenal didn't lose a game against top 6.
Again, yeah. we established that top 6 wasn't the problem. It was the games against the mid-table opposition, which would let Arsenal down.
But I can say the same, Tom, against Crystal Palace. You would never think that Man City 2-0 against Crystal Palace would have dropped point. Never.
I agree.
So I can say the same.
So you've mentioned one game where City struggled against the mid-table opposition. With Arsenal, pretty much all their drop points, or all their really disappointing drop points, were against teams that either finished mid-table or when they played were in mid-table. So like West Ham,
Wolves. So Man City dropped point against Wolves.
Okay, yes. So if we want to break it all down, you find Wolves for City, you find Crystal Palace, and if you want to really include it, you can go to
Chelsea home and away. Like Arsenal smashed Chelsea.
Yes. Arsenal also drew to Chelsea.
Yeah.
What I would say about
Arsenal,
they did well to get a draw out of that game as well, Arsenal, and I think that's where I'd touch on their mentality improving this season compared to last year. I feel like there was games last season where they wouldn't have had that mentality to fight back. They didn't want to lose it this year. They knew how to fix the issues that they had last year. The fact that they've got that close on points tells me that Arsenal's mentality improved this year massively. And I think that Chelsea game where they managed to come from, 2-0 down to 2-2, they're the type of games where I would have questioned Arsenal teams in the past. But this year, obviously, they've evolved even as the season's gone on, because as Rory said already, they finished the season stronger than Man City as well. So
what I would say about the whole... Sorry, Tom, go on.
City, I've just pulled up City's results here. You had a loss to Wolves, which was a bad one, loss to Arsenal away, draw with Chelsea away, draw with Liverpool at home, draw with Tottenham at home, loss to Villa away, draw with Palace at home, and then beyond that point, in terms of a shocking result, in terms of like drew with Chelsea at home, that you could argue that's a bad one. Drew with Liverpool away, drew with Arsenal at home, and I think every other game at that point is a win. So like City had a bad record by their standards against the top 6 this season, but they only really dropped points to 2 teams that you'd sit there and go, "Oh, that's a pretty disappointing one, all things considered." Whereas Arsenal failed to beat Fulham either time, and one time, correct me if I'm wrong, Rory, didn't they have a red card? So they were down to 10 men, and Fulham still managed to get a draw out of it. Arsenal also dropped points to West Ham at home. Arsenal, I need to go double check, but like there was a couple of other results for Arsenal in that run where you're going, you've got to really be getting more out of them opposition, because ultimately by having inconsistent form at points against the mid-table opposition, it effectively undoes all the good work you do against the top 6. So I think Arsenal had the best record against the top 6 all season. Like if you do one of them stupid mini leagues, Arsenal top it because they won the most games. But that gets undone when you draw with Fulham, and then you draw with Tottenham's not a bad result, and then you draw with Chelsea, and then you lose to Newcastle, and then you lose to Villa, draw with Liverpool, lose to West Ham, lose to Fulham, and then obviously they built up that really good run of form afterwards. But the difference when you go up against the City is because they've been there, done it, got the medals for it. They know how to get the job done. What you need to do is effectively shut the door on them before they can get into the mindset of, okay, this is all we've got to do to win the title. The only time City have not won the league when they were competitive, so don't include this first season, the only time they won the league when they were competitive, or they didn't win the league when they were competitive, was when a team had a 20-point gap on them by February, or 25-point gap on them by February, and it was literally impossible for them to come back from that. That's the only way. If it's tight, you've got to go and look at City. You've got to, because they have the best manager in the world, one of the best managers of all time. You've got one of the best squads the Premier League's ever seen, with game changers in it. This is what they do. I don't see Pep. I think Pep's going to go next year. I think next year will be his last year. But I don't see Pep, even if it came to it next year, losing out in a narrow title race. I just don't see it happen.
I don't think Pep is going to go.
That's the big difference.
I don't think Pep is going to go, to be honest.
I think he will do. I think 2025 is it for him.
No, I think he's going to stay until 2027. I actually don't see anywhere where he would go. Because by 2025, World Cup will be done. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
24, 25. World Cup is 26. Yeah. I don't think he's going to manage a national team. He's too young, right? There is still another Champions League to win with Manchester City, right? I know it's very hard to be motivated, as he said, but I don't think there is a club around in the world that will actually offer him what Man City does. No one. Financially, by the way. He already managed in Germany. He already managed in Spain. He's not going to go to Italy because the financial problems at Italy. Where is he going to go? Is he going to coach in Brazil? Is he going to coach in Portugal? Is he going to coach in France, PSG? I doubt it. Am I wrong here? This guy has to coach. He's not going to just quit or retire at the age of... Like, how old is this guy?
50 odd.
And by the way, I don't know. I'm not in the know. But I doubt he was going to go coach him in France, for example. In
Guardiola's 53. He's 53.
Yeah, you think he's going to retire at the age of 54?
Who said retire?
Where is he going to go, Tom? By the way, when he left Bayern, everyone knew that he was going to go to the Premier League. There's people that were talking about Bayern, Manchester United, if we remember. There was talking people about Manchester City. Where was he going to go? Is he going to go back to Barcelona, for example? That's the only thing.
What's stopping him from just having a break?
Yeah, but
why can't he just have a 1 year break or a 2 year break?
And then go where?
Before?
Okay, the difference between
we don't know.
I don't want to argue this, Tom, but
no. The thing is, you don't know what football is going to look like within in 3 years' time.
So you're assuming as well.
But
I'm going off the comments that he made yesterday, where he said, "I don't know." He got asked about his contract up in 2025, and he went, "At the moment, I'm leaning more to leaving." but there'll be talks next year and stuff. That's what I'm going off the basis of. He might be going in 2025. What's the next step? I agree with you. There isn't really a club at the looks of things that is ready for a Pep Guardiola next year, but he might just take a break like he's done before. Go live in fucking America like he did before, and then go look at managing a national team, because that is something he's always said he might want to do. Who knows? I hope he fucks off, because he's a fucking pain in the arse. He's a pain in the arse. He just wins. He's annoying. But I could see
maybe he'll just go into hiding once the 115 charges is settled, and he wants to remove himself from that situation. Maybe takes a couple of years out.
Is that the only hope that people have? The 115.
Well, no, but what? But even if you say, okay, you think it's going to be 2027, what's going to have changed by 2027 that would mean that then he would
10
leave?
years.
But again, but you still come back to the same point. Where's he going to go?
Okay, so
In 2027 rather than 2025. But yeah, but he's not going to stay forever, is he? Right?
Just-
That's the whole point. So.
Just going back to the Rodri comments for a second.
Oh my God, Nobbins was waiting for us to finish, and then he wants to go to Rodri.
That's because I didn't want to interrupt. I didn't want to be.
No, I like it. Go ahead.
Look, it's not a case of Arsenal didn't win the title because they drew at the Etihad. That's not a correct thing to say, because obviously it's a 38-game season, and you can't boil down the league to one game because there's 38 games. I don't agree with everything Rodri said. What the points where I sort of would agree is that, because I remember just before that Arsenal game, I think Tom and I sat on this show, and we both said that it's a must-win game for both sides, because you've got to think about the context of where Liverpool were at that stage as well. I think that as a City fan at that time, I was a bit demoralised following the game at Anfield, a game which I looked at a must-win, given the context of Liverpool's squad situation, with all the absentees. And then you look at the team which City fielded. Of course, it's still a very strong team. It's a City team, but by the end of the day, we didn't have our first choice keeper or our first choice right back or our first choice centre back, and then after 25 minutes, Rico Lewis had to come on for Nathan Ake. And there was no Grealish, there was no and no Stones, as I say. So I'm not saying that we were quote there for the taking, but what I am saying is that it's a pretty big gamble to assume that you're going to be better than City in the title run-in, because that was the gamble that Arsenal made. They came. I think it's pretty safe to say that they came for a point, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But then, even if we take Liverpool out of because again Liverpool was still there, they were banking on being better than Liverpool in those final 9 games, which is fine because Liverpool overperformed. Maybe you can see the drop off. But the bigger gamble was you're betting on being better than City across those final 9 games. And it has never happened where Pep has lost, the title at City being in a title race. So it's a pretty big gamble to do that. Now, obviously we can say hindsight's a thing. My counter to that would be I said it at the time, and I still maintained that at the time, that from my perspective, in the same way that when City went to Anfield and we didn't win, I looked at that as a missed opportunity. And I think that, again, from my perspective, that was a missed opportunity for Arsenal to put them in charge of their own destiny, to give themselves some wiggle room in respect of that they could, drop points in a game compared to City, even if City went perfect in those final 9 games, and also just to sort of prove to themselves that they can beat, a City side with Rodri and De Bruyne in it, for example. I think that could have been a massive mentality boost for them, and that would have really helped their self-esteem, maybe. That's the way I look at it. Again, I'm not saying that that's the reason why they lost the title, but I don't think it's unfair to say that was a big missed opportunity, given the context of where City were at that point, given the context of the team City fielded, given the context of how confident Arsenal must have been at that time and the brilliant football they were playing, because wasn't that off the back of their really ridiculous run of winning 5-0 and all that sort of stuff? And maybe I'm getting the timings wrong there.
Yes, it was. It was after they won 7 games in a row. Yes.
Yeah, I do think that there are bigger issues for Arsenal where I would critique them. I don't know if we're going to touch on those in the context of City, but I don't totally disagree. I think Rodri went too far the other way. I'm just about to wrap up. I don't totally agree with Rodri. I think he went too far one way, but I don't necessarily disagree with his perspective of we felt that this is what they're doing, and because because the way that speech was, he was sort of talking about it like, right, this is out rightly or wrongly. We look at that as X mentality compared to our mentality. We now know that we can go and win 9 in a row. Maybe gave them some more motivation. I think that's maybe what he was saying there. And I don't agree with everything he says.
Can I respond to this? I want to say something. Number one, guys, we have about 500 people here, and we aren't even on 100 likes. That's a new low for the numbers of like button, guys. The like button is how this channel and how this show goes to the next viewer. Stop what you're doing now and hit the like button underneath your live chat. Come on, people. I know you're entertained. I know you're enjoying this. Come on, guys. The like button is essential. It's key. It's free, at least. It's absolutely free. I'm actually going to say one thing. The way you speak, Nobbins, and the way Rodri spoke, and the way Rodri said things, is that they think that there is one way to play football, that Arsenal didn't want to win. And I'm going to put it the other way around. I think Rodri, when he said that, and he said they didn't want to win, he's absolutely wrong. There is not only one way to play football, which is attack, attack, attack. That's what Pep Guardiola told him, and that's how he is. Of course, the Spanish way of playing football is the tiki-taka, because he's from the tiki-taka generation, where you only know one way of playing football, which is to win, you have to attack. But I thought Arsenal were closer to the win this game than Man City. And I'm just going to say, for people assuming that he went for a draw, he didn't mind the draw, but he still wanted to win, because Arsenal were more dangerous than Man City. And do we agree all in this, right? Arsenal were more dangerous in that game. Again, Man City had the ball and they would keep passing around, but Arsenal were more dangerous than
At the Etihad, sorry.
At the Etihad, yes. They were more defensive, but Arsenal on the break, they were more dangerous. Am I wrong here?
I don't think I agree, but I
time that they had the counter-attack, then yes, Arsenal were pretty
Three times.
I don't disagree enough to argue with it, but I don't personally agree with that.
Okay, my point about
it. Okay,
let me finish the point, and then Tom, you can come in on this. Is that Rodri saying that he didn't come to win? Well, I disagree with you. Not every team that set up defensively and play on the counter attack. Liverpool, when they won with that one counter attack, 1-0 again with Salah, the corner, the Cancelo mistake, Liverpool wanted to win, but wanted to win in a different way than Pep's football. Then attack, and pass around. That actually proved to me that Arsenal have a plan B, where everyone told them last year, well, you didn't have a plan B, so that's why you lost the league. Now they go with a plan B, and they almost got 3 points, right? And they didn't leave themselves open like every year against City and get smashed. And now everybody's saying, no, you went with the mentality of a draw. I completely disagree with that, because a lot of teams play defensively and still win the games on the counter attack. That by itself for me is Rodri thinking that football is only played one way, which is how Pep actually is changing people's mentalities. That football is only played one way. I mean, you have to go and attack anyway.
Mo,
come on.
We literally,
I hate this notion. To be honest,
the thing is though, if anyone believes that, it's stupid, because City, the reason City aren't doing back-to-back trebles this year is because they got done by a side who played a separate style of football from City and got the job done.
Thank you.
The thing that gets me is Arsenal will sit there. Arsenal fans and City fans will sit there and argue about it. The fact of the matter is, it's very rare that a game like that is the title decider. I don't think I left that game thinking, right, City are winning the league now. I don't. I think I left it going.
Same here.
Yeah. Whether Rodri and City have looked at it differently because they played it for years and they know what it's about.
Yeah.
Who knows? Ultimately, in a cynical way, he won. His team won, so he can say whatever he wants to, and people can't really argue against it because his team got over the line. But I don't think Arsenal fans are sitting there now kicking themselves about a 0-0 draw at the Etihad. I don't think that's the game which Arsenal fans look at and go, that was where we let it down. And I think that's the big thing. My big gripe, though, my big gripe is why. I get why we done it because Klopp was going, and I don't even think City did it. They might have done it. I weren't watching this. Why did Mikel Arteta do an end of season speech? And it's like United as well. Why did Ten Hag do an end of season speech and Arteta do an end of season speech? Or happens just walking around the pitch and clapping? But why have we got to do like speeches with like
That's one hell of a. That's one hell
I
of a
don't know
pivot.
though. I don't know.
Like, no, but it confuses me. Like, what happened to just coming back out on the pitch, walking around, clapping, and then being done with it?
Maybe to motivate the fans for next season. Maybe
I like speeches. Yeah, I like
why
speeches.
not, Tom? I don't know. These fans paid money to be entertained. It's part of
why did they
supporting
need
a football team.
Right, okay. Firstly, fans don't pay money.
Why
to be
did they do
entertained, they pay
Jurgen
money to
Klopp all
support.
of this when he won one league title?
Because he was at the club for 9 fucking years. That's why it was a farewell to the man who is only the second manager.
My point is saying
to win the Premier League and Champions League with the same club.
Okay, so Arteta is also giving the season a speech, giving the fans speech, not for them to go home feel down. He's trying to motivate the fans. I think that's fair enough. I don't know what is wrong with that.
I don't get it.
It's not like Pochettino went to the fans and gave them a speech. Or
the Ten
Hag one and be done with it. The Ten Hag
one I found a bit weird, right? Obviously, look, in our case, it's the best. It's the best season we've had since the Invincibles. We came close. I mean, the best argument for why they did it was that the stadium was absolutely full and waited for him to give the speech and was loving the speech. So that suggests that the fans wanted the speech. I enjoyed the speech. Same as Martin Odegaard giving a speech as well, who's your club captain. Like, I don't know. I feel there's a big togetherness at the moment at the club, and the fans and the manager and the players are all kind of together, and it's built that relationship. So, you know, the Ten Hag one may be slightly odd, but
if we want to talk about why didn't Arsenal...
If a club wants to do it, do it.
I want to talk about something else.
It's gone from the days for me.
Panel.
I was going to offer.
We can talk about whatever you want.
I was just going to offer an overarching reason as to why Arsenal maybe didn't win the league in general.
Go ahead. Give us the insight.
They didn't score enough goals in enough games. Fundamentally, they had 5 games where they didn't score a goal this game in the league, which is too many. City had 3 by comparison. Doesn't sound like a big difference, but it is at this level. And if you have a look at the table, the difference between the number of draws and losses that compared to City and Arsenal is 2. So, you know, had Arsenal, you know, turned 2 of those losses into draws, for example, by potentially, you know, scoring a goal, you know, whether it's, you know, the 1-0 against Newcastle or the 1-0 against Villa, for example, then Arsenal win the league. I know that's in isolation, but that's the reason why. If you look at it very broadly, if we take it, obviously there's individual moments like Fulham, whatever. But if we look at it overarching, the fact of the matter is that they didn't score enough goals because it's attack that wins you games and it's attack that wins you titles. Conversely, again, City only 3 where we didn't score, and that was the difference this season.
Yeah, attack wins your titles.
Objectively, yes.
That's the first one to say that ever. All the coaches say otherwise.
No, they're wrong. In the Premier League era, they're wrong.
They're not wrong.
It's called in Pep Guardiola's era.
In the season, but they're not wrong. They just have They just have different views on football, which is what Mo's saying. Is that Man City fans and Man City players have been absolutely brainwashed and convinced there's only one way to play football because they're getting constant success from that exact style. But like, it's not exactly true. You can win a league in any way you can if you can efficiently get enough points. You could win every game 1-0, not score that many goals, but not concede that many goals as well. It is no fact.
Dan,
keep going, Dan.
Sorry, Dan.
No, go on, Rory. I heard you speaking.
So I was just going to say the flip to Nobbin saying we needed to score more goals because of the games where we didn't score and drop points was that against Villa we lost because we conceded late. So if we'd just not conceded, we'd have drawn, which would have been the same as scoring. If we'd not conceded late on against Fulham, when we were 2-1 up against 10 men, we'd have won that game. Even that 2 points would have been enough to win the title. So you could just as easily make the argument that even though we had the best defence in the league, if we hadn't made a couple of defensive errors and in games where we were struggling to score had made sure that we at least didn't concede, the outcome would be the same.
Yeah, but here's what I'm saying, right, as well. You're saying about attack. Like, Arsenal have obviously got the best defence in the league. They conceded less than 30 goals this season. They've scored over 90. To say that their attack isn't good enough is crazy when they've scored 90 goals. To say
this season it wasn't good enough though. And
no,
again, it's more the spread of the goals.
No, the real problem here, you can say what you want about their attack, but if a team's scoring 90 goals, that's good enough to win them the league. The real issue here for Arsenal is they actually lost too many games, because Manchester City lost 3 games and won the league. Had Arsenal matched them and only lost 3 games as well, Arsenal would have won the league on their goal difference or more with points. Like,
yes, and had they scored in those games?
That's
Or had
not
we not
exactly the
conceded?
problem, though, is it? Because yes, they have scored. They let 2 simple goals in against the Chelsea side that they should have beaten at the time, and they had to fight back to draw 2-2. They let in a poor goal against Fulham when they were 2-1 up against 10 men. They've scored enough goals. They just haven't won a couple
They haven't
of games.
this season, though. They haven't.
This
season, they
scored
haven't.
91 goals.
And it's
You're
not
gonna
enough.
sit here and tell me that's not enough when
Well,
on
it
their
wasn't
goal
this season.
difference, they have a better goal difference than Man City, do they not?
No, they have the same.
Okay, they have the same. So if they hadn't have drawn those games, they would have had a better goal difference than City.
But
We can all
again,
say about the buts and maybes. The fact of the matter is they've lost games that they shouldn't have lost. It's as simple as that. Because 5 losses last season was actually enough to win you the Premier League. This season, you could only lose 3. It's nothing to do with how many goals they've scored.
No,
Because
it is because again, historically, you say that attack doesn't win you titles, and it's not a matter of opinion. History tells us in the Premier League that attack is more important than not conceding, and that's been the case.
Can say whatever it wants, but in this season and this season alone, that Arsenal were competitive, the most competitive they've been in 20 years. They scored enough goals. They also didn't concede that many at all. They conceded 29, and they got a huge point tally as well, 89 as well, which is fantastic, might I add. The only reason that they've not won the league is because they've lost too many games. It's that simple. Look, don't get too complicated on this. They scored enough goals this season. If a team scores 90 goals, there's a good chance they're going to be in and around winning the league. Okay, they didn't, because one team managed to score a lot of goals as well and ultimately lose 2 less games. And Rodri is going to put that down to mentality, because when Arsenal came to play his side, they simply turned up probably to not risk losing that game rather than putting it all on the line to win it. However, they set up in a way where they felt like it was a calculated approach to beating that Manchester City side, which Pochettino arguably set up in a similar manner as well. And until his substitutions backfired, he was 1-0 up at the Etihad as well. So I just don't understand what you're saying, that they haven't scored enough goals is the real issue, that they haven't won the league. It's just not true. The real issue that Arsenal haven't won the league is because they've lost 2 more games than Man City. And it's not to do with scoring goals. It's actually conceding goals where they've been really, really good this season have ultimately actually cost them. I think we can highlight some of their most important games this season where they've dropped points are because of the goals they conceded, not because of the goals that they've scored or haven't scored.
The issue is that
before Nobins go, guys, I'm not gonna say anything about what Dan said. I actually found the only Chelsea fans that actually in the world that actually defends Arsenal. The only, guys. This is why this is called the Rational League. Go ahead, Nobins.
The issue, though, is that football is inherently a low-scoring sport. Ever since the advent of the 3 points rule, winning has always been valued more so than not losing. The other issue is that you say 89 points, great stuff. However many goals, great stuff. That's fine in a pre-Pep era. You're not breaking 90 points. You're not winning the title the majority of the time in a Pep Guardiola era. That would have won you the title once, and that was in the COVID year when we got I can't remember how many points. Was it 84? 87, I can't recall exactly. Not breaking 90 points isn't enough. You get points by scoring goals. Because again, from 19...
Well, that's not entirely true, Nobbins. You don't...
Please may I finish?
Yeah, finish.
Thank you. Because I did a video about
this. It's getting upset.
Because...
It's irrational. What Nobbins is saying is... Just finish your irrational point, and then we'll rationalize it.
Sorry. I'm getting upset.
Finish
you yelled at him a little bit. It's all good. It's all joke.
I just asked to please finish my point. I don't think that's being upset.
No, it's all jokes. We're joking.
Right. From 19, because I remember doing a video about this. From 1993, i.e., the advent of the Premier League, the team that scored the most goals has won the title more so than the team which conceded the fewest. We talk about Arsenal scoring however many goals this season, and again, that's fine, but that wasn't really my point. My point was about the spread of the goals. It's fantastic. It's scoring however many, because again, that in that period where they put 5 past Chelsea, I think was it 7 past Sheffield United, something mental. 5 past, was it West Ham? Again, this is brilliant. It's great for the goal difference. That wasn't what I said. I was talking about the spreads. The difference is that City failed to score in 3 games this season. Arsenal failed to score in 5. If the emphasis and priority is more so on defense than attack in a low-scoring sport, inherently you are leaving yourself open to the risk of 0-0s or getting late into a game, and then it being 0-0 and in the 85th minute or whatever, and then you concede. Because again, football is a low-scoring sport, and this isn't just the case in the Premier League. This is also the case in La Liga, and it's the case in the Bundesliga, and it's the case in La Liga. The only league where that's not the case, by the way, over the past 30 years, I haven't gone past further than that, is Serie A, which is inherently a defensive league, you know, where infamously AC Milan won with, how many goals did they concede? Like barely any. Football, since the 3-point rule, has always prioritized winning over not losing, and that is done by scoring goals. You can't win a game without scoring a goal. Football will always prioritize, as I say, since the advent of the 3-point rule, scoring goals. And once again, football is a low-scoring sport. You don't score, you leave yourself open to situations where it will be 0-0, and then you concede. And I'll repeat, history tells us the team that scores the most goals is more likely to win the league than the team which concedes the fewest.
But you're effectively, the point that we can all agree on is Arsenal dropped too many points, right?
Fact.
We all agree.
Yes.
I actually have another theory about this league at all.
No, but factually, we dropped too many points.
I know that's a fact, but I want to go ahead, but I want to present something before you go on. Why we never put it down, Rory, to the point that it was very small margin that both teams went toe to toe, and it just went Pep Guardiola's way in terms of like a hit the bar or a decision or a ball that would have gone in, didn't go in, because it's very small margins. If the difference was 8 points or 7 points, but if the difference is 1 goal, the difference is, as you said, Gabriel Jesus squaring it, or Son puts the ball. And I'm not saying outliers. I'm not saying we're asking Konate to go 1-on-1 and put it. I'm asking Young Min's Son, or I'm asking
but Mo,
a referee decision. I'm sorry. Let me finish, Tom. Please, Tom, because this is very important. Because we decide managers' fates. We put up stats, we put up all these things, but sometimes it goes down to very small margin that has nothing to do with how both teams played. We can sit here and analyze this season completely different, right? If a ball hit the bar for Man City and didn't go in, or a ball instead of hitting the bar went in for Arsenal, would we have been sitting here and saying that? Would have been sitting here and saying, "Oh, Man City were not good enough to win the league"? I believe both teams. I think we need to analyze one other thing completely. Why every time it's a tighter race, Man City comes on top? Why? And even with small margins, why? I think that's the analysis, not the small, but Arsenal scored. By the way, I'm going to tell you something, Nobbins. If Man City, for example, if Man City were still drawing against West Ham, for example, I guarantee you Arsenal would have scored more goals against Everton. You can tell I know you didn't watch, but I watched both games. Once Foden scored, Arsenal didn't care. And the players on the pitch put their head down. Everyone, by the way. Rory can tell me that if I'm wrong. Everyone.
Yeah, they did.
And we would have been sitting here because both goal difference are the same. Arsenal could have been 1 goal more difference, or Man City could have, right? It could have been. So these small margins dependent on when did Foden score the goal. He scored in the 92nd, in the first 90-second. He could have scored that goal at the end, same exact score line, but Arsenal would have been scoring 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've been setting it different. I think the reason why the facts are both teams were good to win the title, but we need to discuss why are Man City always come on top against Liverpool twice and against Arsenal now. Why? I think that
because the main reason is, sorry, Mo.
Go ahead. I'm finished.
The main reason is we have game breakers like Haaland and De Bruyne and Foden who score goals. That's the main reason why. It's also not. I don't know if it was Rory or Dan who said it.
Son missing or something, or a referee not checking offside, or a referee calling a foul the next game and not calling it on Arsenal. What does this have to do? Like, this is what people tell me. Arsenal don't have world-class players. What does this have to do with a decision, or Son not. Do you want to tell me Ortega's world-class goalkeeper and he saved one-on-one where Son had because I watched that finish 50 times. Son probably in his career hasn't had a worse finish than this.
But
I literally hit it on the ground straight forward to the goalkeeper. Son,
Again,
are you suggesting that Son's deliberately missed that?
No.
I'm talking about it in an overarching manner rather than isolated instance. Sorry, Mo.
Can I add something, Nobbins, before you go on? But Liverpool, for example, they can actually put it down to something, which is Tom, Rak, HUSAM, all of them put it down to we have shit forwards that couldn't finish. Okay, that's a reason. They put their foot down and they said that was the reason why we didn't win the title. But for Arsenal, it was one decision away or one bar away or one finish away from something that has nothing to do with being world-class or not.
Well, yeah, but do you know, Mo?
Am I wrong here?
No, but you say like it was just one bar away. A lot of our games this year, we finished like a fair way behind.
But you have a shit forward. It's completely different.
But that was literally everything that we were saying. Oh, we've hit the bar because of the shit forwards. We've hit the post because of the shit forwards. We're not winning these games because of the shit forwards.
Maybe I'm wrong there.
It was always the reason. It's very. I've struggled to get the overarching point that you're trying to make. Basically, City might have been more lucky, but I'm of the notion that you make your own luck.
Okay.
You make your own luck. So yes, City might have been lucky with a bar hit, but they've also been unlucky at points this season. Every team gets lucky and unlucky at points. I think Arsenal's big thing is they didn't get over the line against certain teams that they should have done. They left games open when they shouldn't have done.
Against Chelsea, against Liverpool, nor did City as well.
Yes, but though, if I break it down to you, there are games which at the start of the season, you as a fan will go, I want to win, but I'd just take a result out of it. So if you're trying to throw City going away to Anfield where they've won 1 in 20 years as a result which they should be disappointed in, I can't back that.
Yes, thank you.
City have to look at Wolves away, and they have to look at Palace at home, and they have to look at all, like the games where Rodri wasn't available because he was suspended. They're the games which City will probably look at. I think Arsenal's one of them, so you can discount that one. But they're the games you look at where you go, okay, that's a poor one. Arsenal done really well against the top six, so you can't hold that against them. They went to a lot of the top six teams and got really good results across both games, home and away. I think they've done the double over. Did you do the double over United? You did the double over United. You beat Liverpool, you beat Tottenham, you beat Chelsea, and you beat City. You beat every single top six side this season. The issue was when it came to the games that you expected to. They pose a bit of a challenge, but you'd expected at the end to get over the line. It didn't happen for whatever reason. And in those individual games, you'd look at defensive mistakes and you'd look at poor finishing. Like I think the West Ham game, there was a couple of defensive mistakes. And the Fulham game, that was poor finishing that let them down. Stuff like that. But the be-all, end-all is you can't just go against City. They've done this 6 times out of 7 years now. It's no longer luck.
This is what I want to know. That is it. This is it. It's not luck.
If this is one time, if this is one time or twice, I get it.
Yes.
But it's 6 out of 7, and at least 3 of them, if not arguably 4 of them.
I actually have a feeling we're over-analyzing things, right?
It's 4, arguably 5, have been decided in the same way, which is City have a dodgy start to the season, and then they boom it at the end. Literally every single one, bar the Centurions, has been decided that way. They have a dodgy start, they drop a couple of poor points, everyone sits in and goes, oh, this is it for City now. And then they just boom at the end. So it's no longer luck, it's no longer an unexplainable thing. This is how their brains are wired, this is how they
can't fluke your way in a 38-game season. So that's the thing. It's
mental, but it is. It's mental, but it is.
One thing, I don't know if it was Dan who said it or Rory. I feel like my argument was miscategorized. I wasn't even talking about the Rodri comments. I said scoring goals, and then someone brought up, you think there's X way to play football is correct. That wasn't really my point. My point, because you can play counter-attacking football and be defensive and still score the most goals in the league. Let's take, Real Madrid 2012, Centurions. They outscored Pep's Barca, and they did that with a lot of direct transitional moments. Dan, your side, Conte's Chelsea, when Conte moved to his more defensive system, I think that was in December or Jan maybe, they then went on to score the most goals in the league from that point onwards. And that was starting from a more solid defensive foundation. So I wasn't making a point about style of play. I don't care how you score goals. If you score it from a starting position of a low block going into an attack, if you do it in the Pep way, because I'm not with Roger, I don't agree there's a correct and incorrect way to play. I personally think there's an optimal way to play, and I have my preferred way to play. But that wasn't the point I was making. I was purely talking about putting the ball in the back of the net. And however you do that isn't relevant. If you want to do it by counter-attacking, by dominating possession, by doing set pieces, doesn't matter. As I say, that wasn't my point.
But so my argument was more, I think it was because you originally started the point by saying Arsenal lost because they didn't score enough goals, which if you started with the spread of Arsenal's goals.
No, that is what I said. I said in respect of spread because I brought up the 3 and the 5. I'm not talking about beating Sheffield United 5-0, for example.
Yeah, but I would still argue that is part of just, and there's nothing wrong with it, but your mentality is in line with Pep's mentality, which is score more than the opposition, obviously. But if you were to ask someone like Mourinho why Arsenal dropped too many points this season, I don't think he would necessarily look at it as they should have scored more goals, because that can happen, right? Against West Ham, we created an unbelievable amount of chances we didn't score. I think Mourinho would look at it and go, well, you went 1-0 up away at Fulham and then you conceded twice. Once you were 1-0 up, you shouldn't have conceded. He'd look at it and go, you conceded twice against Fulham at home when you were 2-1 up against 10 men. That's unacceptable to concede that extra goal. And he'd look at it and go, well, if you hadn't conceded those goals, you'd have won the title. So that's what I'm just saying. There's just two different ways of looking at it. Ultimately, we dropped too many points. Whether that's because we conceded too many or scored too few is almost irrelevant, because it just depends on the way that you look at football.
All right, let me do these super chats because they're piling up. Thank you for everybody supporting and doing super chats. We're gonna respond to each and every one of them. Akash is saying Arsenal will challenge City again next year. No one else. I wanted to ask this question. Does anybody think anybody else will challenge next year?
What do you mean by challenge? What does challenge mean?
I think teams could. I think teams could keep up for the first however long. I think if there's going to be one team that goes as deep into it this season, with Arsenal taking it to the final day, I'd struggle to see any other team other than Arsenal doing that. Just because I think if you look around at some of the squads at the moment, I'm not sure anyone's got the squad depth to do that. But.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect, like, the only real ones you look at, Villa aren't going to do it because then they don't have the squad for it. We have way too much doubt in terms of the new manager and the squad. Chelsea, I think, are too far. I think Chelsea have made good strides to win this season, but are still a ways away from being ready to challenge like that. And Tottenham, I think, again, it's a similar problem. The squad isn't there, and the manager doesn't have that experience of
Chelsea
at this top level. At Chelsea's squad isn't there yet. I don't think.
Chelsea will be there, but it's too soon.
I couldn't see Chelsea's squad next year getting 90 points.
That's
the difference.
Consistency.
I think Chelsea still have moments where they struggle in front of goal. I am very interested to watch how they address the defence in the summer, because losing Thiago Silva is a bit of a big one because of the experience. I'm intrigued to see who Pochettino turns to in that case. There's a lot to look at with that Chelsea team. There's a lot of doubt there. I think Chelsea could definitely get top 4 next year. Definitely get back in the Champions League. But for a title challenge of 90 points, taking it deep, I don't see that happening for Chelsea just yet. I think they're still a year or two off from that.
All right. Let me do the. We'll talk about Chelsea and Liverpool. Mo can't find your email. I just put it down to you. It is actually footyjudgemo@gmail.com. Simple as that, Francis.
It's Batman, guys.
I noted. It doesn't matter. It's actually public on the channel. Anybody can find the email. Mo can't find your email.
Sign them up for all the spam things. Sign them up for all the spam things that you can do.
Mo can't find your email on your bio, as I noted on MHF Show. AFC fans to be fair, cheer up. To be honest, cheer up. Great team. Trust Man City are manufactured frauds. It's all for nothing.
It's all for nothing.
Oh, yeah.
You could say.
Yeah, it's all for nothing. You can say that.
It's all
Absolutely.
for.
Big up Zero Talk. Be member for 2 months. It'll be here on the panel. So big up panel. I just want to say I'm shamelessly taking credit for Arsenal losing the league. He's a Bayern fan. We were in the R tapping out heads versus haunted villas. We were in our.
I don't know what that means.
He's
I don't know
saying
what that means.
He's saying that the Bayern game affected Arsenal when they played Villa, and that was why they lost.
Might be.
I don't know if I agree.
Francis saying Tom is chatting shit. Both dropped points in 10 games. City lost, drew more. Guys, believe me, all will end in vain with a penalty. Not an Arsenal fan. He's a Barca fan.
I don't think all I said was Arsenal dropped more points against teams that they shouldn't be dropping points against.
So
I don't know how that's wrong.
You don't think winning against? You don't think what Arsenal did against the top six is something that they haven't done in their history?
I have given a lot of credit to that. I broke down they beat every single top six side, but the bigger point swings come against the low end opposition.
And Pep Guardiola is the master of this, to be honest. German Chicken Rodri has rattled Arsenal fan base by calling them bottle jobs. Hold that, losers, and cry more. Spam 115 in the chat, losers.
Good.
Listen, German Chicken Wing.
They aren't bottle jobs, so let's not be silly.
Who? Arsenal.
Arsenal. No.
Does anybody here think Arsenal bottled the league because it was in their hands?
No. You need to have. There needs to be a big enough points gap, and there needs to be, and it's a time factor as well.
The word bottle is losing all meaning.
Yeah. United bottled it in 11-12 when they were 8 points clear with 8 games to go. That is a bottle job.
It this season when it was in their hand and they were 5 points clear of everyone.
I don't even think Liverpool bottled it.
No. It was way too soon in the season. No.
I don't think you can bottle it when there's still 12 games.
What did Dan say?
Yeah, we can all agree on that.
Bottled top 4 though.
Yeah.
Oh, Spurs bottled top 4.
Yeah, to be fair, I think they did. Yeah.
Hold on. When you have what? When you have what, Tom? When you have 12 games left?
Yes, and I don't think we were 5 points clear. I think it was like 5, or it was 5, but City had their game in hand, which they inevitably.
So Arsenal last year they didn't bottle it then because by 10 games left they were only 3 points ahead, which is Man City took over when they won against them, based on your definition. By 10 games left, Arsenal weren't more than 3 points ahead. Game week 30. That's it.
I mean,
game week 30 or 29. You can go check. Mookie here, thank you so much for becoming a member. Do you guys remember when Man City had the game in hand?
Well, this is one of the things. Man City always have games in hand. And so the points gap at the top always looks bigger than it is.
Okay.
Because they've always got a game in hand, which is fine. I mean, the whole bottling it thing is, it's jobless people and children that spout it in the chat constantly. It doesn't really bother me. But the only team this season I think that you could argue had bottled it, if that's the word you want to use, is Spurs. Because historically, no team had ever had a start to the season that they had and not got top 4. Other than that, even
until Tottenham.
Until Tottenham. No one expected Liverpool to win the league. All season, I remember being sat on shows like this saying, this isn't sustainable for Liverpool, and they're going to start dropping points. So we all predicted that Liverpool would start dropping points, and then they did. So how's that bottling it? If they did exactly what everyone predicted that they were going to do.
If Spurs scored another 3 goals, would they have got Champions League?
If they'd beaten you, they'd have got Champions League.
No, but because I'm looking at the table, because they're on this. Because no, never mind the points. Never mind. I got the sorry, I misread the points. Ignore me.
If they'd beaten you, they'd have got Champions League. If they'd beaten us, if they'd beaten us, they'd have got Champions League. I mean, this is the irony of Spurs fans calling us bottle jobs.
If they'd beaten Chelsea.
In the end, us beating Tottenham at their own ground meant absolutely nothing for us. That result meant nothing for us in the end. Because even if we'd lost it, it would have made no difference. For them, if they'd beaten us at their home ground, they'd be in the Champions League. But they're not. But they sit there and call us bottle jobs.
Well done, Nobbins. People say 115 is boring. It's becoming boring a little bit. It's becoming
but
boring.
that's exactly what they want, though. The reason that they keep dragging it through the courts and appealing absolutely everything so that it goes on for as long as possible is so that eventually people will get bored of it. It's literally the plan, and it has been from day one, is to drag it out as long as possible to the point where people almost forget about it ever happening.
What would be the what would be the legal benefit of that, Rory? Because the case is going to happen no matter
by the
what.
way, can I finish the super chats first? So I want to respect the people.
Yeah,
and then
but
we can
I
talk
will
about
point
it.
out that what Rory just said then is
Okay,
legally
put
incorrect.
that in your mind,
I'm not talking
Nobbins,
about law.
And guys, I need to respect the people that do this. Tarun is saying Arsenal had chances to score versus City. We just didn't take them. It was a strategy to absorb pressure and counter attack. Didn't aim for a draw. Am I wrong? Tarun, absolutely spot on. But Dan actually worded it perfectly. He said they didn't want to take risks. They don't want to leave themselves open. And they're giving themselves the best chance they see to win the game. Tarun, it's simple. They didn't go like I'm parked the bus and didn't try to attack. Gifted. Thank you, Mookie, for gifting a membership. So if you became a member, you know who to thank. You know who to thank. Big up Mookie, of course, absolutely brilliant guy. Started his own channel called the Bosnian Scouser, the Balkan Scouser, or something like that.
Hey, get in there.
Yes. We did, Mr. Happy, that we did try and win, lol. You don't have to go gung-ho, which is exactly the point. You don't have
I
to play
genuinely
one-
think, do you know what I think's really negatively affected that result for Arsenal? That fucking AFTV video that constantly goes round of them really celebrating the final whistle in that game. That's like
because-
loads of people's
By the way, the
opinions on it.
problem is
like clapping.
Tom, the problem is AFTV is becoming the metric, the measuring stick for
That was
every
funny, I can't
fan
lie.
thinks. The video's funny to be honest.
I've seen that video so many times. And it's like, it's been now used as a stick to beat all Arsenal fans with, but I don't think Rodri was sitting there when it ended 0-0 going, yes!
The worst thing
yes!
is that it's only that guy on that panel who screams yes and starts clapping, and everyone else around feels the need to join in. They did not want to join in and clap, but because he started it, they're like, right, we're all going to have to clap now. It was very hard.
Literally, every normal fan that I saw or spoke to, the reaction to that result was, okay. It was neutral. It was okay. We didn't lose. We'll take it. We'll move on. The celebrating was, yeah. But again, this happens all the time. AFTV does something and then people go, oh, Arsenal fans did this. So no.
Why do people complain about the style of play equal attack? We don't complain about the style of play, man. No. We only say that there is not only one way to play football.
Teams are entitled to play how they want to play.
Exactly.
Oh, I complain about style of football. I think City's and Arsenal style of football is boring as fuck. But I can't do anything about it.
See, look at that. That's because you're a fascist. I am a tactical. What's the opposite of fascism? Democrats. That's the one.
I just like to stay awake during football matches.
Ian is saying you have to beat what's in front of you. End of. That's fair enough. 100%. And guys, can we get to 400 likes? We got over 600 people here, and we aren't even on 300 likes. At least 50%. Guys, I guarantee you this show will be seen by more people if you like the video. Even if you think I'm twerking for Arsenal, but you don't call out Dan for defending a Chelsea fan defending Arsenal, don't get called out. But I'm a neutral defending Arsenal, get called out, and for twerking for Arsenal. Fantastic action. Bro, people just will say anything, bro. Anything.
I mean, we all remember what you were like the moment Inter Milan got knocked out of the Champions League.
So yeah, I'm an Arsenal fan. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I'm an Arsenal. People can say that. Go watch my watch and for Miss Gunner. Thank you for the super chat. Thanks for the content this season, Mo. We are getting closer and closer. Congrats to Nobbins. But Luka Doncic is gonna spoil the Fluke Wolves run.
No, he's not. Anthony Edwards is going to dunk on him.
Appreciate the super chat. Appreciate the support. Thank you so much for everybody that watched me through this season. And thanks for the guys that agreed to do the show with me. Absolutely brilliant, guys. Why does no one call out the Goldbridge out? I don't know. I don't know what he did. I don't watch Mark Goldbridge, by the way. I just don't.
The argument is that simply for calling Man City out, that is racist.
Why?
Well, this is what the comment says. His takes are fueled on racist remarks about City's owners.
Some people are xenophobic in respect to City's owners, but I don't know enough about Goldbridge.
can I say something about this? And I'm an Arab, right? I'm Egyptian, I'm Muslim, I'm an Arab, and I lived all my life in Saudi Arabia and Egypt. I understand anyone that says sports washing, we don't the Arabs, we don't want this or that, we don't want the Arabs because they have different values than us. But also England have different values. And the majority of the fans around the world, that's just a response to Goldbridge, the majority of the fans around the world that actually make money for the Premier League and make money for the clubs to run are actually different than English fans. If only English fans support the clubs and only English fans pump money, there won't be anything. There won't be the Premier League.
It'd be a collapsed league.
There won't be any money to pay these players' wages and it will go somewhere else. As simple as that. That's the response. But I understand why someone like Goldbridge doesn't want Arabs to be there.
He's never, but again,
Can I finish that next point? Like the Guardian guys that I respect and I listen to them, and they are part of the reason why I got into content, called out Qatar in the World Cup, even though they went to the hotels and they covered it and they ate the food and enjoyed the carnivals, enjoying everything. And then when they went back to England, they called them out.
they are the hypocrites. But I've got to say, just because you said that Goldbridge doesn't want Arabs, and I feel like that's a mischaracterization of. He's never said anything about not wanting Arabs. He wanted Qatar for United. So his opinion.
Why
is
he
simply
calling
based
the
on,
owners then? What's the difference between?
because they've racked up 115 charges.
That's not
his
racist,
issue.
by the way. But by the way, if I call someone a criminal, that's not racist.
No, so that's what I'm saying. He's never
that
mentioned
racist?
anything to. No, he's never mentioned anything to do with them being Arab.
So
He's only
Eddie's
mentioned the fact
chatting-
that it's. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
the point on the super chat is he hasn't actually got any proof to back that up. He's just saying it's racially fueled, but there's no evidence there. He's just suggesting that the reason Goldbridge
thought-
doesn't like
Because
what's
then
going
you
on.
know I heard journalists publicly talking about the Arabs and the difference in
I'm
human
not talking.
rights,
No, I'm just talking about
human
the Goldbridge.
rights and all
I'm
this
not-
shit.
I'm
You
not
know
talking
that
about anything else. I'm
sports
just talking about that
watching. We don't
Goldbridge.
want these values and all the stuff, and it's public, and people are allowed to do this in 2024, and without punishment. By the way, big journalists, they are allowed to say that, and nobody says anything, because it's all human rights. And yes, your values are more important than other people's values. City won't have Haaland, KDB, Stones, and Grealish out for months again next season. Still won the league. Havertz's goal yesterday shouldn't have counted. FYI. I'm gonna respond to you. I didn't think the goal mattered. Just to let you know, Eddie.
I haven't
didn't
seen the
matter.
goal. What happened?
And I actually think it's borderline t-shirt line, right? But I get what you're saying. But it didn't matter.
Has it
on
changed
that-
from t-shirt line now? It's no longer the t-shirt line.
No,
that
it
you
is the
used.
t-shirt line now.
I
Actually,
thought they changed that again.
okay, hold on, Dom. It's the other way around. It changed from shoulder to t-shirt line.
No,
Actually, in the long.
I thought it then changed back from t-shirt line back to shoulder.
No, I didn't say that.
Oh.
Can you check it, please, Tom, for us? Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But until
By the way-
the beginning of the season, Tom, in the IFAB, it was still t-shirt line. It says handball, no handball. Go ahead, Rodri.
So basically, the VAR got it wrong by referring the referee to the monitor, because Jesus wasn't the player that scored the goal.
Yes. you're
If
right.
Jesus had scored the goal, then it should have been overruled. But because he didn't and it was judged accidental handball, then it should never have been
But I
able to be
can-
referred back
Can I
to him.
counter what you said? If it's deliberate handball, if he moved his arm towards the ball, that's not
His arms
accidental.
by his arms by his side, where else?
But
is it
he
meant to be?
used his arm to control the ball. So
It's
that
by
is
his
not
side.
called accident. So, but it's not accidental then. So we agree it's not accidental. Now, natural that's different. Anyway. Did
Yeah,
you
I
get
mean,
my
that's fine.
point? Like, I get what you're saying. If it's accidental and the guy that doesn't score is the one who did it, it cannot go back. But sometimes it's deliberate in the build-up, and they have to go and check. And the referee now can decide if it's deliberate or not. Anyway, Sven is
Right,
saying
so,
Liverpool should have had
apparently-
penalty via Doku. Again, I'm gonna say it again. We're not. If that penalty is given, and Arsenal have won the league, right? Imagine that hypothetical. And I'm not saying a hypothetical that is not out of this world, right? That's not out of this world. Would we have been sitting here and saying defense don't win you the league, or would have been sitting here saying differently? That's my point. The small margins. That's Sven's.
The only issue I have with the Doku one is City drew that game and picked up 1 point. If they'd lost that game, they'd have had 1 point less and still won the league.
Yeah, but I would think. But my point about the small margins. That's what I mean.
No, I get that, but I just think just in isolation, the Doku penalty wouldn't have actually affected
the Doku penalty was more of an effect on us than Arsenal.
Yeah, that as well.
That's why you can't look at isolated incidents in a league season, because I could pick out however many other things. I could even say maybe McAllister misses, so it's not really helpful.
Yeah, but McAllister's boss, so he wouldn't miss.
Okay, then I can say, well, City will score an equaliser then.
No, because you were shit.
I'll go one step further and say that Boyd, by the fact that we were 2-1 down, we actually go out and score 2 goals and win the game.
In the 30 seconds of added time left.
Yeah, why not? It's been done before. Real Madrid did it to us. Why not? It's been done before.
You could have been a Troy Deeney moment. You could have saved the penalty and from the rebound taken at the other end.
Exactly. Yeah, like it's worth as much weight in terms of what could have happened. Unless we have Nostradamus here, we can't say what definitely would happen.
Yeah.
Who knows? I just know McAllister wouldn't have missed that thanks his boss, and he's the best midfielder.
And I know Ortega would have saved it with his knob, and it would have gone in the other end, and we would have scored and got the winner. So you can hold that, mate. Ortega's dong saves today.
By the way, Tom wanted to show us this for some reason.
Yeah, I just want to know: is that sleeve or is that shoulder?
That's it. I think that's the same picture as last year.
That clears everything up.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know if that's sleeve or
sleeve. That looks like a sleeve. That's the problem. It looks like a sleeve.
Sorry,
or not.
Sleeve?
It looks like a sleeve or not sleeve.
It says below the bottom of the armpit in the right and just above it.
So so that's sleeve then. That's like sleeve. Like, I can have a long sleeve like this.
We used to be a country,
midway down. Sleeve goes about midway down, you know.
By the way, I actually don't care about this. You know why? And I don't care about this because at the end, it's all subjective at the end. Even if they say shoulder, where does the shoulder end? Does that make sense?
That's what they're saying, isn't it? Just below your armpit. It's quite obvious where that ends.
Where does that end?
Well, just where your armpit stops and becomes the side of your body and the lower part of your bicep.
Yeah, but where does a circle end? That's the real question.
Yeah, where does the circle of armpit end?
I think that's quite obvious. I think that's understandable because obviously people have controlled the ball with that part of their body.
Oh my god!
You can shoulder it and stuff, can't you? Or this area just to the side.
I think we need to get Rodri to smile, bro. You're making me.
How can you expect him to smile? Like, that hurts.
That's like that meme. It's like a smile would do nice.
And that's another question, Rory, because a lot of people yesterday, and let me finish the super chats, and then because this what you just said, I think yesterday a lot of people said, "Congratulations, Arsenal. Why aren't we congratulations, Arsenal? Why not? Why?" And people said, "We're in love with this. We love this. We did this. We achieved." And I would rather be. And then you're sitting here sad, which is what I think Arsenal fans should feel. You should feel sad that you lost the league. There's no congratulations. Just be better next season. But a lot of people say, "Oh no."
I mean, I think that football fandom's going a really bad way now, where the journey throughout the season is getting forgotten because of what
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. Arsenal had an incredible journey this season, achieving what a lot of people thought was going to not happen. They thought that what happened last year was going to undo everything. The journey and everything that was achieved along the way gets forgotten because Arsenal didn't win the title. And I feel that's affecting inside fan bases now as well, which isn't the right way to go.
See, I don't think it is affecting inside fan bases. Based on the reaction in the stadium yesterday at the full-time whistle, that was just like full support, chanting for the players and the manager and all of that stuff. I think match-going fans are still very much like, it's a journey, right? If I think about yesterday, I was sat in the Emirates thinking back on the season. I'm like, the 2 injury time winners against United, beating City, beating Liverpool in the Champions League again, Saka's opening goal against Bayern, like all of these memories. Like, and people are trying to tell me online, people on Twitter are trying to tell me online that we had the same season as Man United because we won the same number of trophies. So, okay, so would I swap my season for yours? Would I swap the joy that I've had this season for the misery that you've had this season? No, absolutely not.
What
And
if Man United win the FA Cup?
then I still think I've had more enjoyment this season than they have.
Okay.
But the point is,
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Really?
they'll have an incredible day on that day, but I would still
Right.
say over the course of the season.
No, but that's my point, Rory. In 5 years, nobody will remember that you came second. They will all remember at the end.
I will.
It be
No, they will, Mo. They will because they'll remember
Yeah,
it as
rival
like a
fans will.
negative. Like
as
when
what
people
as a
remember that
negative.
Tottenham
That's
came
my point.
Yeah,
as
yeah.
a negative, then it won't be remembered as an achievement and joy. In 10 years, Rory, you'll be 30-something years old, and
I'm
you'll
going
remember
to
the
put this
trophy.
to the test. I'm going to put this to the test right now. Tom Little,
Mm-hmm.
which season fills you with more excitement and like, you know, niceties as a
Well,
Liverpool fan?
yeah.
Is it 11-12 or 13-14?
13-14.
Did you win anything that year?
No.
And did you win something in 11-12?
No.
Oh, I've got the season wrong then. When did you beat Cardiff? When did you beat Cardiff in the League Cup?
Oh no, we might have done. I've forgotten that one.
Okay.
I forgot
It
that.
actually proves more
Okay,
points.
brilliant.
It actually
That proves my
proves
point
more
even
points.
I
more.
forgot we played. I forgot we won a
so I
Cardiff
did
Cup.
get
I'm
the
sorry.
season right, and you can't.
Fucking
You
hell.
couldn't even remember that trophy.
There
Now,
you go.
obviously,
I
big difference
genuinely
between
don't.
winning the Manchester Derby.
I
final,
thought you were going to ask me which season do I
Nothing
prefer
to
out,
prove
like
the point.
18-19 or 19-20. I will always say that 18-19 was the best season we had as a football team in terms of the level of football we played and the enjoyment I got that season. We didn't
But
win the
in
league that year.
general, like, do you think Liverpool fans hold 11-12 or 13-14 in higher regard? As like, oh, do you remember?
Everyone remembers
5 years old.
13-14 and the football and the team that we played.
Yeah, so that does go to support
Almost
Rory's
6 years
point.
old, Nobbins.
But
Huh?
I
was
don't
not
even need.
6 years old. I was 10.
But I don't even need. I don't even need those.
I have a picture of you 3 years ago. I did a show with you in the football terrace. If I share it,
I look young for my age.
But I don't even need those seasons from rival fans of how they felt. I know how I felt in the 1920 season where we won the FA Cup and finished 8th. And I know I didn't enjoy that season as much as I've enjoyed this season.
I
and
agree
as much
with
as
you,
I've
by
enjoyed
the way.
last season.
If
And-
my team, by the way, win the cup, I agree with you, Rory, completely. If I don't challenge, if I finish 5th or 6th in Serie A and I win the Super Cup with the cup, I would leave the season gutted. I wouldn't actually celebrate the cup because
Exactly.
at the end, it doesn't do anything to me. I won a lot of trophies before. That's a difference between, with all due respect to all other clubs, Nottingham Forest winning the cup is different than Arsenal winning the cup or
Exactly.
Chelsea winning the cup. It doesn't. And people say, Mo, you don't respect. Someone put a comment, by the way, Mo, you don't respect English history. The cup is important. It is important, but in context. Not when you finish 8th.
It's not as important
not
anymore. The FA Cup used to mean more than a league title, like back in the day. It's obviously lost its weight since then.
When was that? 70, 80 years ago?
Well, exactly. Like we're talking about, like, you know, pre-60s sort of. Well, I guess sort of like.
I wouldn't even say it was that. I would say
like 70 years ago, Nobbins. It's exactly 70 years ago.
Early 80s was probably when the tide started to shift on it.
Yes,
The FA Cup was
probably
always
right.
the FA Cup was always seen as the big thing in
Yeah,
England.
because it was the older competition. Yes, I think you're right. Yeah,
I think the FA Cup really, really sort of started to die off with the introduction of Sky Sports and the Premier League. I think that
when it
really
was
finished it off.
The moment the big team started to rotate.
Yeah, the other thing that probably arguably killed it was the fact that it got removed from free-to-air television. I think that ultimately killed it a little bit as well, like the final and stuff.
Yeah, the cup final used to be up there with the World Cup final. It was like a huge event back in the day.
Probably died with the old Wembley, like really, if you think about it as well. About 2006.
The culture around the FA Cup used to be so different. Like the FA Cup used to dominate a day. Like the moment that they would start, there'd be a program on inside the team hotels, watching them have the breakfast and shit, and it'd go on all day until 7, 8 o'clock at night. You wouldn't have the chance to watch anything else.
It'd be broadcast all around the world, and most countries had 4 channels. So it was on it was on a quarter of the TV in the world, basically. Like, so it was massive. And if you hear like Brazilians who have played in like yesteryears talk about football, they speak about Wembley and the FA Cup, and that was like the biggest, most important thing they knew. It was bigger than European Cup, things like that.
Let me do these super chats. Francis saying a pencil will make this City wins hush in history. Do you think if we get charged, Just short. Anybody here thinks that all this 4-peating triple is asterisk with asterisks?
Yeah, of course it is.
No, that come on, it's not.
Can we discuss this after? Because Nobbins, I know that Nobbins still has the question and he's not forgotten, right? Big up Mancunian.
I'll let Dan go.
Big up Martin. Big up the Mancunian. Big up Martin. Sometimes I fantasize we won the league under Mancini.
Won the league
In a
under
game with
Mancini.
Pellegrini.
Again with Pellegrini. He's putting a chant. He's supposed to sing it.
You can sing it. I don't know it. Go ahead.
No, I won't do the rest
No,
of
go
it.
ahead, Dan. You
Stone
started
Rose
it.
song.
No, you
No,
started it, so you have to.
No, sorry. No, I'm not going to do the rest of it.
Don't these times fill your eyes that we have got Pep Guardiola and the Blues are taking over. We are never going to lose.
Always on the booze.
Man,
So
thank you so much, Martin, for the super chat. I
Big up,
really
Martin.
appreciate you. Big up, Martin. Thank you so much. Here we go. Sing the song time. He wants you to sing the song, no, but you're the only one who knows it.
No, I'm not going to do the whole song. No.
God, it's like the atmosphere of the episode.
Now we've got Pep Guardiola and the Blues are taking over. We're never going to lose. Always on the booze.
thanks.
Oh,
Thank you.
right. Is that
Let
what
me
you
do that.
sing? Is that the lyric? I've heard you singing that a few times. I've wondered what
Arsenal Fan TV, Eagle, and Piers Morgan makes us all look bad. Come on, you Gunners.
No, you already looked bad before them.
Oh, crazy. Dan's popping off.
And by the
Come
way,
on.
Nobbins,
They've just added to the misery, haven't they? They really have.
Nobbins, you are not the only lawyer. I worked 12 years at ICC, and I have also reviewed publicly available evidence, and City won't escape this.
I would highly, based on that lack of understanding, I would highly recommend not re-entering the industry.
Oh, Francis.
You
No, Francis.
have to hold, I'm afraid, Francis.
They're talking. I get the same crap about the SPL being something. Yeah, the Saudi league. And Ahmed, I'm gonna tell you something. The Saudi league is not as the Premier League.
No, it's not.
It's not.
I tried backing that at the beginning of the season with all like the hype and everything. Did a couple of shows, got some.
I
really
haven't.
good,
I haven't watched a
performances.
game.
Oh my
Crowds
god!
have looked
I did
really
about
odd.
6 game weeks, and I've not been able to watch it since.
I
Like,
think
the players that aren't at the level are so below it. It's awful.
I don't even think that'll be the problem. I think the long-term problem it will always have is that they can't import football culture. And one of the biggest things.
No. They have a massive. What do you mean? Hold on.
That's not fair to
Oh,
say.
by the
Rory. They
way,
have a
by the way,
massive culture.
Rory,
There's
I
not a
live there.
rivalry.
Football is crazy there, way worse than actually England. You have no idea how people talk to each other in school. When I was a kid at school, 5 years old or 6 years old, it is crazy. The rivalry in Saudi Arabia is ridiculously crazy. So for you to say that, you clearly don't know.
But I'm watching games between any team outside of the top
5, 6, 5, 6. Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't that more to do with the quality though, rather than like?
Yeah, because they are small, very small towns, and yeah, but the Etihad, Shabab, Hilal, Ahli, Nasr, these guys have massive fan bases, and they are really, really like the rivalry is crazy.
Isn't the fact, Mo, that I've literally did a video on this on my channel, but I'm trying to remember it. The fact is that the predominantly Saudi Arabia's population lives between 2 main cities and nowhere else.
Not
really?
2 main cities, some other areas as well, but
Is
yeah,
it?
Jeddah
Okay, yeah.
and Riyadh. Yeah.
So, but then the majority of the teams come from those 2 cities, and the teams that are from the smaller areas don't have a fan base, a following, and they're the teams that have taken 800 fans to a game, and people are laughing about on social media and stuff.
But so the point I'm trying to make is we have the Premier League, which is supported by the Championship, which is supported by League One, League Two.
Yeah, the whole 92.
In the Premier League, even outside, if the Premier League was just the Big Six every week, the Premier League wouldn't be the Premier League. And if you go down from that, Saudi doesn't have like Wolves versus Aston Villa, where you've got 50,000 fans and an immense atmosphere.
No, yeah, a good comparison.
If you mean that, yes.
Yeah, a good comparison would be the Scottish Football League, if you think about it, Rory, where they have 1, 2, 3, 4 teams that get in pretty solid attendances that would compete with high-level Championship Premier League sides, maybe even better than some Premier League sides by a way. But then as you go through that league and down there, it starts filtering
But you
out.
can't
the
say
really
that Scottish
strong.
people don't have football culture.
No, they don't exactly, and that's I think
cannot say that.
Rory's
Like,
probably
they do.
learnt now that actually that isn't the case because of what you've said and the fact that I probably had that same outlook on it, Mo, because I was unaware. And then when I did some research last summer and spoke to a lot of people from Saudi Arabia in my comment sections and things like that on Instagram, got a lot of messages. I started to see the rivalry was there, and there's a lot of history. And there.
But I'm
I think
telling
the
you, bro,
biggest
I was
thing
10 years
is-
old at school, and it was crazy.
I think the competition and the level of players away from who have been imported into the league, who are being produced from the country itself, aren't really at the level to be attracting the audience numbers that a country like England can do with its own.
Well, I disagree with them for political reasons and the way they spend the money. That's completely different. But I'm not going to get political here, even though I can, but fine. You are a fraud, Mo, for saying it doesn't matter. I can't remember what it is. German chicken wing. I can't
He's not wrong about the fraud bit, though.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
To be fair.
He's not. Of course he's not. Before I go to these couple of things, thank you everybody for super chats. Guys, let's get to 300 likes. Guys, we're only less than 30 likes away from Nobbins. You wanted to say something about what Rory said about the asterisks and the charges and all this stuff.
I think it was Danny wanted to say something about that.
I don't mind speaking on it. I just can't see how people can kind of come to this and say it's all with an asterisk, because ultimately the performances that have happened and whatever's gone on in the league and the individual games themselves, they're not influenced really, apart from if you talk about if they've been able to bring in certain players because of that. But actually, when it comes down to the league itself, those players are all put together. You've got to gel that team together. You've got to have the right tactics. You've got to have availability, mindset, all these things that, although they're at the club, they can't really be affected by the money that's been spent or money that's been generated from the club from questionable sources, which apparently some of the charges, isn't it? So I think the asterisk thing is crazy to put that out there. Yeah, I think it just comes from a slightly sour place for Arsenal fans and maybe Liverpool fans in the recent years that City have been so dominant.
So do you think it's possible that as soon as the team actually has to come up and compete with it, their opinion changes? Whereas if you're sat there not competing with them,
no,
because
Chelsea have beaten them in that time, Rory. Chelsea have beaten them in that time. I think they may have. I think only Manchester United are the only team to be proven guilty of actually failing financial fair play. Are they not? Or maybe Everton and Forest now, but I don't think
that's because they admitted what they had done rather than trying to drag it through the courts for years.
Yeah, but
Manchester
City are absolutely adamant, and the people look. I can't comment too much on it because I haven't read the huge document that came out, and I'm not gonna read it, to be honest. I'll just wait and see what the outcome is. But from the people I've listened to, the people I've spoken to, it looks as if City and apparently there was a vote to suggest whether or not City were getting this from illicit third party people or where it's like controversial. Nobbins, you'll know more than me, but the vote was like absolutely overwhelmingly in favor of City not getting this from places that are wrongly injecting the club with money, basically. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah. I think Rory's issue is that he's conflating a team. An entity. We don't even need to have the word club or company here. An entity. You are conflating an entity defending itself with almost knowing it's guilty and just doing it for like the sake of it. I think that's my main issue with what you've said.
It's not for the sake of it.
And there's this. You've brought it up twice now. This whole dragging it out through the courts. But what's the end goal for that? What would be the benefit of that? You said earlier. You said earlier it's to make people forget about it, but there's a timeline and there's an independent commission who will look at it. It doesn't matter whether it's going to be next month or next year. It's going to happen.
So objectively, they have dragged it out through the courts for as long as possible. They've appealed literally every single possible thing they could have appealed.
That is what entities tend to do when they defend themselves. I will say that much.
But for example, the first appeal they made was appealing the idea that they even had to produce financial reports in the first place, unless I'm mistaken.
Again, this is very common in legal practices. Yes.
So when Pep Guardiola sits there and says, "Oh, we just want it to be wrapped up so it's not hanging over us," is he telling the truth?
Probably.
So why are they doing everything to drag it out as long as possible? Why did they not want to produce their financial
Pep's not going to have any say in the legal discourse.
That's it. That's exactly it, Nobbins, right? It's from the football side of things. Pep Guardiola and his coaching staff and his playing staff and everyone involved with that side of things at that club just want that to be gone and forget about it, right? But then when it comes to the people that are involved with City financially and have the understanding of this in terms of law, they probably don't mind how long it's dragged out for, because arguably it might benefit them in a certain way, it might not. But Pep Guardiola doesn't want this looming over, because this sort of thing is unneeded and can be harmful, as we've seen with other clubs. Financial impacts or question marks can have an impact eventually on the team and how they perform in the league. It's just an unnecessary weight added.
So the Premier League incorrectly charged them 115 times. That's the logic that we're going with.
I have no idea.
Well, in the first instance, you have to assume innocence, because that's how this country works.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that's important to remember here is the question that we were saying is what City have achieved, like with an asterisk. I think to discredit the work of the best manager in the world and some of the best players in the world, whether they're at that club wrongly or rightly, they still have to go out and produce on the pitch every single week and have to learn and spend hours and hours making sure their body is in the absolute perfect condition to perform at the highest level on so many different levels for the last 7 seasons consecutively, pretty much. Like they absolutely can't be discredited for that, just because there could be some outside influences that have allowed them all to be put together in the same area and be allowed to work
That's literally
together.
the point. They've built the entire thing off the foundation of 150
Rory, you can spend £1 billion legitimately, as Chelsea have done, and it go completely wrong. So you can't discredit the work that Pep Guardiola, whether or not he's been subsidized in a correct way or a wrongful way, you just can't question what's eventually happened. Is the fact that he ultimately has built the best team that potentially world football has ever seen. Has it been assembled illegitimately? Look, I can't comment on that. But the fact of the matter is, it could have been assembled illegitimately and gone horribly wrong. That they have ultimately put in serious work as coaching and playing staff to produce what they've become. It's that simple.
But they've done it in ways that no one else could possibly have done. And the best example is that other clubs, for example, Arsenal, we had to stop spending on players for nearly a decade to build a new stadium.
You can keep
Man United have neglected spending on their stadium, and now it's leaking. Yeah, of course it can go wrong, but it could also go right, and it has more chance of going right if you spend and spend and spend and spend.
And City aren't even the top 2 spenders.
Oh, if you go for net spend in the last 5 years, because conveniently they're already established.
Well, no, if I go for spend across the Premier League era, and indeed across English football history.
Well, that's difficult, isn't it? Because when you've had 2 completely different types of ownerships, like throughout that era.
Yeah, but that's the charges, Norbert. But that's the whole point. One of the charges is that you actually did not report everything you spent. So your whole argument is that, but we aren't the biggest spenders, right? Is based on the fact that you reported everything correctly. Does that make sense to you, Nobbin, what I just said? So the charges are that you haven't reported everything.
No. The correlation that you're trying to make is that it's correct. You can correct me if I'm wrong. You seem to be suggesting that there's this hidden transfer fee somewhere, but that's not what City being accused of.
No. It's actually simply that, for example, a manager who was supposed to get paid 10 million, that was his wage, right? Got paid on paper only 5, and the 5 were paid somewhere else. That is one of the charges. I know that for a fact.
14 of them. 14 charges.
You know that. So that means you cannot say that we don't overspend, because, for example, I'm just going to give you an example. There is, for example, Chelsea are accused. This is one of the charges against Chelsea, and I think there's one against Man City, that they didn't report a full transfer value of a player because they paid only half. That was reported, and the other half was paid through different channels that were not reported completely. Man City also are accused of this, for example, of not reporting the right sponsorship money, the right transfers, the right managers' wages. That is it, Nobbins. So, in my opinion, this is my opinion, of course, is very strange here. is that I see both points. Man City should have been allowed to build their club as long as they are not overspending everyone else by 10 times, right? And the law that was made, they were forced to sign it, FFP and PSR, by the way. Otherwise, they would have been kicked out of the league. And Man City tried to build their club some way. Did they break the law? Maybe, probably, yes, in my opinion, because this is my opinion, probably. I'm not the law. I'm not the one who's judging them. I'm not the one putting them in court. But they should have been allowed to build it. Have they taken from other clubs by breaking the law, which is somebody said, if they are proven guilty? Yes. Because someone said, and this is, I'm quoting someone, that's not mine. For example, Leicester City might have not sold them Riyad Mahrez if they weren't allowed to build their club this way. Leicester City should feel gutted, for example, because Man City had the money that, quote unquote, based on the charges, illegal to spend on Riyad Mahrez, for example, right? That is the thing. Well, the other players that Man City got from other clubs as well, from Spurs, Kyle Walker, Man City should not have had the money based on the charges to get Kyle Walker from Spurs, and he should have been a Spurs player until this moment. So if Man City found guilty, Spurs should have feel gutted, because how did you afford to buy Kyle Walker and spend that much money, but you build your club against the law? That is the point of other clubs. That's to respond to Dan. And the work that Pep Guardiola did, the work that Man City did, Dan, on the pitch, might not have been allowed to happen if they didn't have the spending power to buy Kyle Walker, to buy Riyad Mahrez from Leicester City. And Leicester City might have been stronger by now, or Spurs might have been stronger than now by having Kyle Walker. That is it. Until they're proven guilty, of course.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is, Mo, is
do you get the point, Dan? Why?
I do.
The work on the pitch is affected by. If you
I don't have a lot of sympathy for it, to be honest. Can't lie. I echo what Dan says.
I just think it's an argument that just gets a little bit lost. Obviously, no one really knows what's going on there apart from the people that are really involved in it day in, day out with this whole accusation case, whatever it is. The fact of the matter is, Pep Guardiola has been given a squad of players, whether it's been assembled illegitimately or not. He had to make that work. You can spend that much money on players and they don't work. I know that all too well as a Chelsea fan. Like, you absolutely can get it wrong by spending a lot of money. If Manchester City has spent more money than they were allowed to spend, or that they agreed that they could spend and they've gone against that, then look, they are absolutely at fault for doing that, and whatever punishment comes their way, they've broken the rules.
But no one is arguing that.
I don't know whether or not they have. Pep Guardiola and the players that are on that pitch have worked every single day, grafted every single week, just to make sure that they're winning football games. That they're not doing anything wrong, and for them to be punished and them to be criticised at the fact that they've won trophies, that I'm not fair. That's too harsh.
But the counter to what you say, Dan, is that if Pep Guardiola were given less tools, would he have won the same amount?
Yeah, of course he would have, because he's had less tools at other teams, less spending power at other teams, and still got the best out of those teams. Pep Guardiola is an exceptional manager. He gets the best out of someone like Phil Foden. Costs absolutely nothing. Look what he's done with Rico Lewis. Look what he's done with other players that are moderately priced. And also the success that Manchester City have had and enabled them to spend a bit of money anyway. And quite honestly,
I agree with you.
They've bought pretty reasonably, haven't they? How many players have they purchased above 60 million? There's probably not too many.
I believe he's a genius. I'm with you, Dan. I believe this guy makes superstars. He doesn't buy superstars.
He absolutely he doesn't get both.
No, hold on. He buys good players, stars players like the Bernardo, right? Takes them to a different level. Kevin De Bruyne, great in the Bundesliga. Guys, he's taking Kevin De Bruyne to arguably one of the best midfielders ever to play in the Premier League. He elevated John Stones, Akanji, Ake, Ederson. Even by the way, even Gundogan that came from the Bundesliga, he was good, but he wasn't. He
wasn't on that level. He wasn't on the level that
I'd say he's exactly Dan. I get class player at City.
He actually makes world-class players. If I want a manager, I would want Pep Guardiola. He is the best ever manager I have seen to build a league-winning title team because of his system.
Nobbins, who did he buy?
Everyone at City now outside of Kevin De Bruyne.
No, that was world class.
Oh, Haaland for me.
That's the only one, guys. The only one that is all. Like, he never went and bought like what Real Madrid did when he bought Zidane, Figo. Beckham, Owen, R9. That didn't happen.
Woodgate.
You know what I mean? Like, that didn't happen. You know what I mean? He didn't go and buy the superstars he bought from Portugal. He bought from Monaco. And then he takes them to the next level. And we say, but the team is full of world-class players. But he made them world-class. So I have to defend Pep here. He made them world-class by winning, by mentality.
You have to look at
Same as Klopp, by the way. People say, but Van Dijk was great. The guy was at Southampton.
He wasn't world-class. Yeah, exactly.
He was at Southampton.
But this has moved away now from is there an asterisk next to Man City's achievements to did Pep Guardiola deserve to win them?
No, it hasn't, Rory, because what Mo was suggesting is that it hasn't.
Yeah, but they gain that. You have to say if they're found guilty, they gain that advantage.
I just want to ask Nobbins, because Nobbins will know. Nobbins, what is the period of time that the charges are against them? Because it's not across the whole thing. It's stopped.
No, I think it ends
from 2009-10 to 2018.
There we go.
So anything beyond that, you can't put an asterisk on because they've not been charged for anything for it. Whether you like it or not, that's.
But you don't understand, Tom.
No, because they wouldn't have been able to
you already,
since then
if they're found guilty,
you
already built it that long to allow them to have that much revenue in these days, Tom.
Exactly.
Yes.
But by the way, I can
what
say
you're
something.
saying.
I can actually say that about majority of the clubs around the world who did infringements back in the 30s. If you weren't allowed to do these infringements back in the 30s, I don't know the history, by the way. I'm not well educated, but I heard that Arsenal did infringements in the 20s and the 30s. I would say if Arsenal didn't do these infringements back in the 20s and 30s, we wouldn't have been talking about Arsenal today. Arsenal would have been somebody else. Can I say the same? Rory?
Look, honestly,
exactly. But that's the whole point.
Honestly speaking,
we don't know.
I don't want City to. I want it to be guilty in a sense. Like I want it to be proven that we were, in a sense, just we couldn't have done anything. What my belief is irrelevant. I do believe that City are 100% innocent, but I don't believe they've reached 115.
You believe they're innocent?
I don't believe they're innocent.
You believe logically speaking, and I'm by the way, this is I am not a legally trained guy.
I never said they were innocent. I said I think.
Oh, okay. I
think they're guilty, but I don't think all 115 are gonna land. Dave, do you want me to be honest? I fucking hate City. They've ruined the best team I've seen in my lifetime. That's a stone cold fact. And the only reason this has become relevant again is because of what has happened with Everton and with Forest this season with their charges, and the fact that it was one charge led to this, and now what's 115 going to do? I don't know what the punishment should be. I don't. I care to an nth degree, but I don't care about all the fucking speculation. The speculation is just draining, and we don't know anything. City are going to do what they were doing, whether they were innocent or guilty. The team they've built might not have. It logically probably shouldn't be brought together if they were guilty. But I can't then undermine what these individual players and this manager have achieved on the football pitch.
Like Kyle Walker is not at fault for joining Manchester City and being.
I can't blame Kevin De Bruyne. I can't blame him. I can't blame such and such. In my way, what I would expect to happen if they were found guilty is the titles stripped. You can't give the titles to anyone else. I get that, but just strip the titles if they are guilty and then move and whatever punishment you want beyond that, it's fine. But I don't get what people really want to do beyond that.
I don't know what, but to be honest, I am so confused about what.
I hope Liverpool and Arsenal fans understand that if City were found guilty, we aren't getting them titles. They aren't. The Premier League aren't just going to go, then have them, because that's not how it works.
No, the moments have already gone. That's the thing. The moments have already gone. But the point is, there will always be an asterisk, and you can't. It's not like you have a decision of whether or not that asterisk is there, because it's based on public opinion, and the large public opinion is Man City cheated their way to all of their success, and that asterisk will always be there. If you compared it to any other sport, right? Imagine an athlete tested positive for about.
No, I knew you were going to say this, Rory. No, you can't go down.
Well, imagine they did, but they took it to court, and they got a load. Why is it a poor correlation?
Because we've not been pumping Bernardo Silva with
No, you've been
performance
pumping your
enhancing
club.
drugs.
You've been pumping your club with money, which is
No,
enhanced the
Rory,
performance
it's
of
not
the
the
more.
club.
It's
same.
more. You know what, Rory? It's more similar to if you want to take athletes, right, as an example, and we go over like a sprinter. It's like there being an allowance that you guys can spend £10,000 on a gym to train in for the whole year, right? That's a regulation, right? And one of the athletes has got backing from a sponsor that's given him £100,000 gym, but he can only do as well as what his body allows him to do. As soon as you alter science and what you can genetically do, it's a completely different argument. But
Okay,
if he can train in a facility that allows him to have access to becoming a better athlete when he's working outside of the regulations that he's agreed that have been put in place for his sport, that would be comparable to what Manchester City may or may not have done.
So like cost
But you
caps in
can't
F1.
argue that you
So
can't
like
go
cost caps
down
in
the
F1.
doping route. It's just
So like cost caps in
financial
F1.
doping is completely different to genetic and scientific drug doping.
And I think
cheating. But it's
May I
like cost
say-
caps in F1.
May I say one final thing on it?
Yeah.
And
final
it's
thing.
it's just one word that Rory said, which sort of like means that you're approaching it from I think a dishonest angle, and you use the word always. There'll always be an asterisk. That tells me you're not even entertaining the idea the City are going to get found not guilty, and that
I think
is inherently.
I think there's a strong chance they will get found not guilty, but I don't think that necessarily means that they aren't guilty. Yeah.
So you're saying always, just that suggests, unless you misspoke, that suggests that regardless of outcome, you think there will always be one, even if they're found not guilty, and that sort of summarizes what's wrong with this whole debate. That people have already decided what they've decided.
So, but can I ask you something, Nobbins? Before I do the super chats, do you think it's illogical to think that Man City built this amazing club without breaking the rules in 10 years? If you say yes, I will believe you.
But may I answer in a more detailed way, just briefly in one sentence?
Yes.
If you, for example, has anyone here read the CAS documents, for example, apart from me?
Not all of it.
Rory?
No, not all of it.
Right, Dan, Tom? No. Based
I
on
haven't even read any of it.
what we know,
Tom still can read.
based on what we know and what is available in the public domain, then no, City won't get found guilty, if that was your question.
See, Nobbins, I'm asking you a simple question and you're not answering the question.
But I notice how you answer it is City won't get found guilty based on what's in the public domain.
Nobbins, I am asking, guys, let me just ask Nobbins again.
I couldn't hear what Rory said.
I don't want, Rory, can you just wait, please?
Yes.
I'm asking the question, Nobbins, simply. Do you think logically we should sit here and think that City were able to build their club to this amazing thing with that amazing stadium and that much revenue without pumping illegal money into the club within 10 years?
Based on the publicly available evidence, yes. That's the only conclusion.
You know what the problem is, Nobbins? You're not answering the question.
No, pause. Rory, why did you laugh then?
Because I think the way you answer it speaks volumes. Based on the publicly available information, I don't think Manchester City will be found guilty of doing it. I don't think it happened.
What should I base my opinion on then, Rory? Should I base it off a chance and opinion?
No, on logic.
Should I base it off what we know?
On logic of what the club has managed to do.
Wouldn't it be logical to read? Wouldn't it be logical to read the documents and actually try to understand it? Wouldn't it be logical to base? Wouldn't it be logical to base an opinion off reality rather than a feeling?
But it's the reality that has been created in that document. That's not what you're being asked. And I think the reason that you answer it in such a specific way is
in the legal document, which was an independent legal document. Yes, that's what I'm basing it off.
Okay.
Why? But again, why? And no, I'm going to take umbrage with you scoffing at the idea of basing a reasoned decision on facts rather than feelings. It's the exact opposite. You should be laughing at people for basing it off feelings rather than what we know exists and going.
I didn't say feelings. I said
no. I'm not talking about you, Mo. I'm talking about Rory, who's basing it totally on an opinion, and that's fine. But if there is actual evidence out there, it's weird to, as I say, scoff at basing an opinion on what we know exists rather than what doesn't exist.
In my opinion, the Premier League didn't charge you 115 times, which does nothing but damage their own product and cost them an awful lot of money because they felt like it and you had done nothing wrong. That's my opinion.
Thankfully, people like you aren't in the legal system because we don't equate guilt with a charge. That's not how life works.
However,
in democratic countries, anyway.
However, the asterisk is based on public opinion.
And again, basing it on opinion rather than reality is inherently flawed.
We're all here about opinions, by the way, Nobin.
Yeah.
It's called opinions.
But the asterisk itself is based on the public feeling.
Mo, there is a difference between an informed opinion and an uninformed opinion.
100%. We are not. None of us.
Not all opinions are born equal, and some opinions
100%.
don't deserve respect.
100%.
And if you haven't read the documents, then I don't know. Compared to someone who has, again, I don't know why understanding it and reading it is being looked down on. I just thought that was a really odd reaction. No, it is because you laughed. It is because you laughed at it. You openly laughed at it. You openly mocked that statement.
And I'll continue to do so.
Which is flawed in the same way that when you said always, that's flawed.
But it always will have an asterisk because the public opinion will always be, regardless of the outcome.
By the way, it won't. By the way,
it won't if we're found not guilty, will it?
I think for a lot of
people who have a modicum of common sense, anyway.
I think for a lot of people it will.
Would it for you?
Some people, no. The word "law"
would it for you?
Yes.
Even if they're found not guilty.
Yes. Because I don't think the reason that if they get found not guilty, I don't think that will be because they are not guilty. I think it will be because their lawyers won the game.
And what if the document disproves that? Would you then accept it?
What document?
Like the money documents, the documents.
The independent commission's final verdict.
Found that everything was done legally, everything was not paid, there's nothing paid on the table.
Would you then accept? Because otherwise we may as well just shut up now, not talk about it.
But so in terms of, for example, the 35 charges that are relating to failures to cooperate with the Premier League investigations, that's not to do with the money coming in, that's in terms of failure to cooperate.
And again,
is that going to be patched up in a document?
And what if the independent commission said we didn't find that to be the case? Would you accept that?
Yes, if there was actual hard evidence that hadn't happened. Yes.
Okay. Anyway, I think we need to. Okay, this is.
You shouldn't be looking to prove a negative, FYI.
By the way, Nobbins, if the documents actually say that all of these charges are wrong, I think it's done. Nobody can argue anything.
Well, you shouldn't be able to. That's what I was just trying to establish.
Anything, simply, yeah. Anything. If everything is paid legally and there is no inflated revenues and all the stuff. Bro, everybody just
and likewise, if City found guilty, then I'll accept it because that would be the verdict.
Nobody can say anything. Thank you.
Either way, the biggest loser in this situation is the Premier League because their image will be damaged.
Yes.
Whatever happens.
Let me do this super chats because I need to talk to HUSAM because
that's why I don't believe the Premier League would have bought the 115 charges and made it very, very public that they had done that if it hadn't happened. Why would they self-inflict?
UEFA didn't lost.
And that's why we don't base cases on feelings.
Yeah, I mean, were you not actually found guilty by UEFA, but then you avoided the ban? Was that not how that worked?
Well, we overturned the ban because the ban was incorrect.
Yeah, so you were found guilty. It was just that the ban didn't stand up.
No. We were proven not guilty because UEFA were wrong.
In law, you are allowed to do continuation, and then
UEFA were wrong. They were proven wrong.
Right.
I need to do this, Francis. This is getting here. Nobbins, personal attack relevance law 101.
What's the personal attack? It was just some sound advice.
Francis is saying, stole money and ran a business, now a billionaire. Who did? Oh, he's talking about the charges. That's the thing, Francis. We'll see how it goes. Nobbins actually said it. To be honest, Nobbins, it's the first time I hear you say that, just to be fair. I never heard you say, if the documents prove that we didn't spend money illegally, does that make anybody silent? Yes. If that's the case, Nobbins, so yes. This is the first time you say that. Mancini spent money and won the leagues in 11-12. No FFP. What's excuses there, Rory?
The first charges date back to 2009-10 and go all the way through to 2018.
But FFP was only 2012.
Yeah, so what are this is like I don't know enough.
This is why Rory
because the charges going back to 2009-10 were simply that they failed to provide accurate financial information.
Guys, if only someone did a really detailed video breaking down all the charges.
Mr. Nobbins,
I
in
don't-
the
I don't
chat,
want-
guys,
I don't
in the
want to watch
description,
Nobbins video.
one
I
click
don't wanna
away,
watch
and there is a video
It's 10
there.
minutes, guys. If you want to be informed, would recommend.
So in 10 minutes, you can break down why Man City are innocent, but it's taken how many
How
years?
about
5
something,
years.
Rory?
for
How
us
about we
to-
actually go watch the video, all of us, in details, and actually
Oh my
see if
God,
Nobbins-
let's educate ourselves.
Nobbins, do you have any friends that work in law that aren't biased? Not suggesting that you are, but
Are
like,
you trying to suggest I am, Dan?
no,
Yeah.
just to get a
But you are
complete
definitely a little bit
neutral-
biased.
I'll
When you're a Man City fan, you're
No,
definitely
I
biased.
just a non.
I would question your
complete
loyalty if you're not
neutral
biased.
view on the situation. I'm not suggesting that you are or you aren't, but obviously there might be a slight emotional attachment towards the club and feelings towards it.
Tom, can you go to
No, of
However,
course.
I just simply.
I was just waiting to wrap up. I'll go.
I was going to wrap up. I'm going to read the super chats, but Sam has
All I
started
would
this video, and you need to go with him. Go ahead. Tom.
I guess I just
we're going to
just
finish. We're going to finish in a bit.
just to
Go
quickly
ahead.
answer Dan, I just say
Tom.
get the documents out and do Control F and see how many times no evidence comes up. That'll be my
Right. Okay.
play that as a little game.
Yeah. I'm not suggesting you've read it wrongly.
Sounds like
or
you
anything.
are. Sounds like you are, you fraud.
No, I'm not. I would like to be educated on the matter from someone who has absolutely no involvement with any team in or any aspect of the fight.
I can only I totally understand. I can only really recommend to read the big document then, to be honest.
Right.
That's all I can really, if you don't want to watch it's perfectly sound
Let me
explanation, I can only advise reading the doc and then coming to your own conclusions.
Right.
Sven is saying, won a gold medal in 2008 Commonwealth Games, more than Chunky Boy on the bottom right.
Oh, nice.
Never insult Dan ever again, or you'll get banned from this channel. I'm a moderator.
I'm actually, I don't know why people normally go to.
Sorry,
personal
what can I
insults.
look? Can I just see what? I don't understand where that's coming from. What have I done to him or?
Not even chunky.
I'm gonna go and try to find the super chat again.
Someone in the chat's been calling me Peter Griffin on stream, so they can swivel on it as well.
I just Sven,
guys,
Jorgensen here is
welcome
something right now.
to
Rattled the
YouTube.
nipper.
Is that your first time on
Sven,
YouTube?
if you can
people?
explain, I would like you to do so because I don't understand where that comes from.
I am getting the super chat again because I actually lost it. If you want to read the rest of it, I just put it out.
I
Because
don't.
I don't particularly. I just want to know. I read it. I want to know where it comes from. That's all. I don't mind. I don't mind if he has something that he doesn't agree with me with. It's absolutely fine. I just don't understand
Lack of
the need
self-love.
for
That's where it
personal
comes
dig.
from.
Like you don't even show your face. Like,
Moda will ever achieve 5 Nilo to the Gunners. So what? Happy birthday to my wife,
I
What?
don't understand. I feel sorry for your wife, to be honest with you, Sven.
bro.
Obviously, aren't satisfying enough that you have to sit here and comment on YouTube videos.
City spend big every time Pep in his last year to make him happy. I think City will improve massively, and based on Pep's recent words, he will, in my opinion, he will extend. Off topic completely, but fine. Thank you.
That was good. I enjoyed that.
Ali Garcia. I know who now calling you Peter Griff. Actually, bro, I've been called Shake Your Bum all stream.
Rory doesn't look like Peter Griffin, by the way. I don't know where that's coming from. Doesn't look anything like him.
That's the thing. When I get ones that like are actually funny, and like people say I look like Bella Ramsey that plays Ellie on The Last of Us, right? That I can in some way get it, and it's funny. But the Peter Griffin ones just, yeah, I don't really get it. Ali Garcia, by the way, is really proud, taking credit for it. Peter Griffin, it was me. Well done. What an accomplishment! I'll tell you what.
If Pep
Your
could
life
have
is
done
going
it,
places. Truly.
Wow.
if Pep could have done it anyway, why didn't he?
Good point.
He didn't. Pep doesn't control that situation, though, does he?
Yeah.
The actual
People
only
think
thing,
that Pep
the
is
only
City.
thing with Pep, and this is a whole another thing that people would have to go down and research and stuff. But there has been question marks throughout Pep Guardiola's career in regards to certain scientific
But
practice.
was Pep Guardiola not banned from football twice for performance enhancing substances.
What? Yeah, it's a real it's a sketchy.
It's fortunate
subject.
that Man City just happened to
Yeah.
stumble upon the best manager in the world, who also happens to be someone that's very comfortable with cheating. I do feel like
but
that was
the fact of the matter
that
is
was
the
luck.
By the way,
doctor-
Rory, I gotta say, you sound
doctor-
so salty. It's unbelievable.
Oh, I am.
But I love it, bro. But I love it.
I am salty.
Like, you sound so
You don't
salty.
say. You don't say.
I am salty.
Oh, I'm
He
so- I'm
now,
so
by the
happy
way,
you put
he
it
now
out there
feels
because
how Liverpool.
I thought you were being entirely reasonable throughout this whole show.
Oh, I'm both salty and reasonable. Nothing I've said is unreasonable. It's just
No,
it
it
comes
is.
from
But
a place of salt.
No.
Pep Guardiola was found guilty of cheating twice.
Yeah. The issue on that though, Rory, is that it's kind of down to a doctor that he has a lot of trust in. Ultimately, was potentially using practices that Pep Guardiola wasn't aware that at the time they weren't acceptable. It takes a lot of research, and there's large grey areas around the subject and that. But there
Had
are
it happened once,
question
you
marks.
could maybe use that. You could use that. The fact it happened twice, maybe not.
Yeah, it's kind of along the same sort of lines as Klopp and the inhalers theory. It's you can't. There's no real evidence to cement it in place. It's hard. If people want to do their research, I'd advise them to, because I've tried. I've done a few hours research on the situation, but there's not loads out there, to be honest with you.
Blue Tone, big up Tony. Thank you so much for the support, Tony. Big up Tony. Hey, Mo and Nobbins, our rivals, salty today. Love it. You know what I like? That Rory's like, yeah, I'm salty. I love it. Like, it's just,
Of course I am.
it's great. It's just how football works. This is why we love Nobbins.
Big up, CJ.
Big up, CJ. Big up, big up. E-Ink is saying, public opinion, Fergie had the refs in his back pocket. Does anybody disagree with that?
Where's the evidence?
I think back pocket insinuates that there was money. I don't like the term back pocket. I think referees themselves have acknowledged that during the Fergie era, they did succumb to elements of pressure and made decisions that were perhaps wrong. But I don't think that's the same as like paying them or
all players and refs like try to argue with refs and stuff. So I don't have much sympathy with that. If there's evidence of Fergie doing that, then show it me. But as far as I'm aware, there isn't.
EPL tried to bypass the independent commissioner by government by proving they are efficient. They panicked and shot themselves in the foot. If I claim you're a murderer, it's on me to prove. If not, it's not you to disprove you are. That's very true. That's how public.
That's the point of proving a negative. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly right.
That's very right, actually.
And I don't disagree, but my whole point keeps going back to the asterisk thing because it's based on public opinion. For example, public opinion didn't necessarily believe that O.J. Simpson was not guilty, right? So that stuck with him forever. It just did. Regardless of the fact that he was found not guilty, it stuck with him. And that is what I'm saying about City. Regardless of what the outcome is, I think a lot of people will not accept
that's a poor
that they
comparison.
were not guilty. Why?
Because the main thing with the O.J. Simpson case was to do with, it was that infamous line by, I forget the famous lawyer's name. If anyone knows, let me know. He came out with this thing of if the glove does not fit, you must acquit. The whole case boiled down. He was able to manipulate the case and the jury into thinking it was all based on this one thing, whether the gloves, which were found at the crime scene, Johnny Cochran, thank you, whether the gloves would fit O.J. Simpson's hands. And what came out after the fact was OJ's lawyers leading up to the moment at which he was going to have to wear the gloves. I can't remember the exact details, but they either gave him something or they denied him something which would essentially engorge his hands, so he couldn't physically put the gloves on. And that was the ultimate deciding piece of evidence. And also, it's a criminal case.
But he was not guilty, right?
In
the eyes of the law, yes, but again, the two aren't the same because unless
what
you
do
can
you
find
think,
me this.
Nobbins? That's very. By the way,
but this is what I'm saying. But
you
what
always,
you
Nobbins. I know
said,
you're a lawyer. The problem, Nobbins, is that we aren't the ones who are gonna actually decide if anyone is guilty or not.
But again, I base my opinions on facts.
Yeah, but Nobbins, I'm again, forget the facts because the facts can be manipulated by lawyers. The fact, as you said, They
You just
literally,
proved that yourself.
you literally said that his lawyer was so good
No.
point everything towards one fact.
Not the same at all, because the only thing that we can base it on is the evidence which we have, which is from the CAS panel, which isn't from a City lawyer, and it wasn't from a UEFA lawyer. It's not the same.
No, but no, the point I'm making is not whether or not Man City are guilty or not guilty. The point I am making is Man City can be found not guilty, but that doesn't mean that the public will believe it. In the same way, you don't believe that O.J. Simpson was not guilty, despite him being found not guilty.
I don't know anything. I don't know anything about the O.J. case outside the gloves thing. I was just making the point that it's a bad comparison. I don't have any opinions on O.J. Simpson.
But in the point that I'm making, it's a perfect comparison, because the public opinion, despite him being found not guilty, was that he was guilty. So that's the overriding
again,
point
there was this.
I need to. By the way, wallahi, this is never going to end, by the way. And I know that you both want to talk about it. And I love the conversation.
The issue is it should end when it all comes out. But as Rory's already alluded to, he's essentially not going to accept it.
Yes.
Which is mental, by the way.
Is the majority of the public who have an interest in watching football won't accept it either. A very similar case in terms of that public opinion trial is probably the John Terry one, isn't it? But you don't need to get into that. But John Terry forever has had that stain his career, even though in a court of law he was proven not guilty.
Exactly.
So
that's my overriding point. So
I think you both make a point that factually is going to happen. If Manchester City are proven not guilty, then that suggests that they're innocent. However, what Rory suggests as well is that there's no smoke without fire, and the Premier League obviously felt they had reason to charge them for these things. Whether or not they can actually prove it or beat them in a court of law, we're not sure yet, to be honest. But it's always going to come down to the fact that as soon as a charge and an accusation is thrown, some people aren't ever going to be able to look past the fact that someone thought that someone had done something wrong.
Can I do this funny? We suddenly no club bought players in transfer windows after teams got point deduction. Yeah, every team follows FFP. Khaldoon said he will out Red Cartel. Okay, if Khaldoon says that, he can say that. I love Khaldoon, by the way. What a mentality. What a guy. Just watch him talk, and then you will know what
he's very well spoken,
very well educated, very well spoken, and he shows you how to manage a football club about the winning and the culture and all this stuff. And to be honest, I enjoyed his interview last season after the treble. It was fantastic. It was absolutely eye-opening on how people run their football clubs, to be honest. They are guilty because I want them to be.
No, you've got to do the last bit.
I know. Yeah, that's for Rory. Injecting test in your butt, but it's doctor's fault. That's about Pep.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the Pep thing.
Anyway, I am okay, guys. For next episode, we're gonna do team of the season. Believe it or not. And I wanna, by the way, I wanna just shout out something. Make sure to like the video before you go. Nobbin's channel in the description. Rory put it in the works every day, 6:30 Arsenal talk. Dan, of course, channel is in the description now, pinned in the show. Guys, go and get that. We need Dan to go up to 5K. Come on, people.
At least.
Let's push Dan to 5K. Go and subscribe.
At least.
Guys, yeah, thank you.
And Tom channel as well. And this will take you to HUSAM. Make sure to stay in here. Miserable stream with HUSAM and Tom, of course, talking about Liverpool season. So go and watch, and you're going to enjoy it. Appreciate everyone. Hit that like button before you go, and we are out of here, people. Let's HUSAM sit.